Can't tie me down, but you can whip your lovin' on me, baby, round and round and round.
Welcome in, everyone. Welcome in, everyone. My name is Angelina Tucci. This is my broadcast. It's going to be a good one. We got the governor's debate coming up in just a few hour and a half. Yo, DV8, what's up? Sorry, I'm trying to fix the lighting situation here. But welcome in. Okay. All right. Let's I know it's kind of not the best quality, but hey, Bishonen in a box. Welcome in. Hope y'all are doing great. I know it's kind of a cloudy, kind of rainy, it's been on and off type of weather today, right? It's been kind of gray Southern California weather, which is not always fun, but it might be enjoyable for some people. So yes, welcome in everyone. My name is Angelina Tucci. We're going to be covering the California governor's debate tonight, live at 5 p.m. 6 p.m. DVA said, I love this weather. That's awesome. Stardust City Hag, thank you for being here. I forgot to shout you out when you first came in. Yeah, we are definitely getting that May gray, which is crazy. But yeah. All right. Let's real quick. I wanted to cover this story last time because shout out to Anthony Victoria of KVCR. He shared this on his Instagram page and I was like, man, this is really interesting. I don't think anyone is really covering this. Deviate said we need chat to pop off again. Yeah, it's going to be great. I think the more we stream, the more we have fun in the chat, the more we, like just have a good time. I think we will have chat be crazy and we will have a good time. I even thought about honestly trying to do maybe like a little drinking game during the debate because or like a bingo type thing or like keep a tally of the during the debate like how many times Chad Bianco blames the Democrats, I don't know. I'm trying to think of interesting content. We need chat to pop off again and the more unfiltered I get, hell yeah. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. I know Bishon in a box is here already. She got her new headphones. Shout out to the new headphones. So hopefully my the audio sounds good. I don't want to blast anyone's ears out like Mr. Randy Corrigan does on KCAA. But yeah, yesterday was really fun. Was it yesterday? Yeah, sorry. Just been so much going on. Oh, JK, I got a new phone. Hell yeah. What kind of phone did you get, Deviate? And see, Bishon in a box. New headphone. Damn, now I got FOMO. I need new tech too. No. Um all right. Let's start by covering the story and then I want to watch Steve Hilton did that stupid video on Javier Becerra. We got to watch that before tonight's debate because it seems like they're the top two, so we got to get prepped. But like I said, let's go over this outdoor gun. I know Bishonen in a box is a big gun nut. Bishonen in a box loves guns. Bishonen in a box is a gun aficionado. She's gonna rage right now in chat. She hates guns. Deviate said Hilton was on MS Now over the weekend. Damn, he's been going out, getting the rounds. You know who else has been like going around? Is Tom Steyer. He's been dumping so much money. Bishon in a box said, "Oh God, no." ACR heartbeat sensor. Is that like the thing that the streamers have when they're playing horror video games, and you can see how scared they get? That would be really cool. Uh, all right. Let's read this. Um, before we run out of time. Turner's Outdoorsman is linked to the largest share of guns traced to crimes in California by Aaron Mendelson, published literally today, or I mean yesterday. Pretty cool little picture. I like this. I like this type of art. This is very much my style. 8 months before Cole Thomas Allen sprinted past a security checkpoint with his shotgun in an alleged attempt to kill President Donald Trump, he walked into Turner's Outdoorsman's in Torrance, California, and purchased the weapon, a Mossberg pump action 12 gauge. If convicted, Allen would join a long list of criminals armed with guns from the Turner Outdoorsman chain. Between 2022 and 2024, California law enforcement traced nearly 8,000 crime guns, those used in a crime, suspected to have been used in a crime, or illegally possessed, back to Turner's locations. With over 30 outlets across California, Turner's Outdoorsman is the biggest gun seller in the nation's most populous state. A first of its kind analysis of California Department of Justice data by the Trace shows that Turner's is connected to more crime guns than any other California dealer or chain. And that's not only because Turner sells so many guns. Among the findings, Deviate said, really? Question mark. I always thought most of our gun crimes were from non-common sense gun laws of the neighboring states. Yeah, I don't know. Listen, when I lived in Illinois, sorry to bring up Chicago again. Like there for a fact, all the gun crime was like really it was from guns from Indiana or Kentucky or whatever, right? Um, I guess in California because I don't know, like, but yeah, I would think it would be like Arizona, Nevada. Um, yeah, really Nevada, because what then? California just touches up against Oregon. That's the only bordering states that we have. Oh, and then I guess Mexico. But I think the problem with guns with the Mexican border is that the guns are coming from the United States to Mexico. Um, but yeah, from non-common sense gun laws of neighboring states. We have Arizona, Nevada, maybe Utah. Yeah, you know what? I don't know. I would imagine in Nevada they probably have really lax gun laws because, they also have gambling and stuff. Arizona, they probably have, Florida style type of gun laws, stand your ground type thing. And then Utah, I don't know anything about Utah gun laws. I would imagine it's, free for all, or just like, no restrictions at all. But so yeah, that's why this article, drew so much attention to me personally because I was like, what is this gun store? I've never even heard of Turner's, Personally, I have never heard of this store before. Like the places that I know to where like if I wanted to go out and buy a gun, I could go to Bass Pro Shop at the Victoria Gardens in Ranch Cucamonga. But yeah, Bass Pro Shop. I think other like I remember. I don't know if Walmart still sells guns here in California, but I remember being a kid going to Walmart and seeing guns for sale there. But yeah, this store named Turner's is pretty interesting. I kind of want to go to one just to check it out. Okay. So here's the other facts that the LAist got. Turner's store accounts for a fifth of the guns sold in California, but make up a quarter of all crime guns. The chain accounts for almost 8,000 crime guns from 2022 to 2024. Guns it sold showed up at crime scenes at a rate 35% higher than other dealers in the state. Guns sold at Turner's locations wound up at crime scenes quickly, less than a year after purchase, 40% more often than guns from other dealers. Huh. So I think with this point, I would kind of blame the consumer, right? I would say like the people that are buying guns at Turner's aren't really like gun enthusiasts, or they're like turning around and selling the guns, I guess. But okay, let's continue with the article and we'll find out. The Torrance store where Allen bought his shotgun sold 642 firearms later recovered as crime guns. Damn, that's a lot. So just the store that in Torrance, 642 firearms that were recovered were from that store. That's crazy. And it's the second highest number in any store. Okay, well, it's Torrance, you know? Damn, it's like right there by LA, right there by Long Beach and all those other so okay. 8 of the 10 stores with the most crime gun trace were Turner's locations in Southern California. Okay, so we can't even blame Turner locations in Northern California. It's just Southern California. All right. Sales at Sacramento and Stockton Turner stores ended up at crime scenes in under a year at some of the highest rates in the state. Oh, wait. So Sacramento and Stockton's Turner gun stores were bad too. Okay. Oh, but eight of the 10. So the other two. Okay. It's not clear why Turner's is overrepresented in the data, but there are several potential reasons some dealers are tied to high numbers of crime guns. Factors such as store location, lax sale practices, the types of guns sold, and low prices can contribute to higher numbers of traces, according to academics and former law enforcement. However, the large number of crime guns traced to Turner's outdoorsman stores warrants regulatory scrutiny, said Steve Lindley, the former head of the Bureau of Firearms at CADO, California Department of Justice, who now works at the Brady campaign to prevent gun violence. Quote, it was shocking how many of the top 25 crime gun dealers in California were Turner's outdoorsmen, Lindley told us. Turner has a responsibility to figure that out and do whatever they can to try to minimize that, he said, including reviewing its training and hiring practices. Authorities should give Turner stores some extra love and attention when it comes to the inspections because there's something going on there different than other dealers, he added. Turner Outdoorsman did not respond to interview request. There's something beyond just you sell a lot of guns, you have more crime guns, said Hannah Lacker, a professor at the Violence Prevention Research Program at UC Davis. Lacker's research has found just 15% of California dealers account for 98% of the state's crime guns. Wow. Guns take several paths to crime scenes. Some are stolen from their owners, others are bought through straw purchases, aka the act of buying a gun on behalf of someone else, or trafficked into the underground market, and some are legally purchased by a person who later commits a crime. Turner's past customers include Saeed Rizwan Farouk, the San Bernardino mass shooter. Oh no, the people related to ISIS, or so that's what one of my professors says, who purchased a pistol at San Diego's Turner store. An acquaintance of Farouk also bought rifles from Turner's locations in San Diego and Corona, which Farouk and his wife used in the 2015 massacre. The couple killed 14 people and injured 22, the worst terror attack in the United States since 9/11. Okay, so anyways, that was a little sidetrack there, but yeah, okay. There's little proof is in the pudding that Turner's Outdoorsman's is selling guns that are being used in crimes. All right, here's the data, which is actually really interesting for those of you in chat who want to look at data. Um, the number one worst crime gun store in all of California. Can we guess what the number one is, chat? It is San Bernardino Turner Outdoorsman. Bro, we need the fa sound. Oh my god. San Bernardino is the worst, followed by Turner in Torrance, then Norwalk, Signal Hill, Pasadena, Sacramento, but San Bernardino, bro. What? Okay, Deviate said, so do people go to Turner's just to resell them? Kind of like what people were doing for sneakers and streetwear. I mean, I guess so. I guess so. That could be one of the explanations, I think. Either that or the people that go to Turner's in San Bernardino are not very safe with their guns and they lose them, or they get stolen, or yeah, maybe they just genuinely do buy them to resell them. Like, I don't know. I don't know how good the deals are, like maybe the deals are so good. Well, I don't even know if you can buy more than one gun at a time. I really don't know that. Like if you wanted to buy like, like how scalpers would do, they're like, "Okay, let me get four EBT boxes. I know you have only 5 EBT boxes here at this store, but I'm going to buy 4 of them, please." I don't think you can go and be like, "Can I get 4 shotguns?" Cuz that's kind of crazy. It's like, why do you need 4 shotguns for, homie? You only have 2 hands. Oh my god. So yeah, I don't know. That someone needs to investigate this because like look it the jump from Torrance to San Bernardino is like literally more than 100. And that's crazy. Like what's the lowest one? Oh, North Highland? Oh, these are actually different stores. Um oh, damn. And Turner Outdoorsman wait, there's one in Ontario? Damn, there's one in Ontario, there's one in Victorville. So we got 3 Turner Outdoorsmen in San Bernardino County. I mean, in the IE at least, right? I don't see like Riverside on here. But man, that's crazy. That's crazy. I don't get this at all. All right. Okay, let's continue reading. California, where the most recent data covers 2022 to 2024, is the only state that releases detailed figures on the dealers connected to crime guns. Oh, that's really good. Why don't other states do this? The federal government does not because Congress has prohibited the ATF from sharing retailer level data since 2003. Weird. Why would the federal government do that? Deviate said, of course, Victorville. Allen's shotgun purchase was reported by Bloomberg, citing law enforcement records. The firearm would not appear in the data because he purchased it after the period captured by the numbers and it was recovered by law enforcement outside the state. Yeah, because I guess it was recovered in Washington, D.C., right? Those who investigate and study crime guns say there's likely no single reason Turner's accounts for a disproportionate share of those traced by the California DOJ, and no obvious path for the public to determine why that disparity exists. But they cite several general reasons Turner's may account for a large number of crime guns. It's a question of geography, it's a question of social economics, it's a question of is there any competition within a legitimate walking area or driving area, said Scott Thomason, a former special agent with the ATF. Okay, so it seems like not even they know. A store's inventory, prices, and clientele are all related to how many crime guns are traced back to it, according to research done in California by Lacker and her colleagues. You know what? I'm just starting to think maybe, you know what? Guns are just meant for crime. That's what the data's telling me. It's like we're asking why water is wet, you know? Okay. So here's the important data. Cheaper handguns are more likely to be recovered in crimes. All right. So no one's going to spend a lot on a gun that they're going to just use once to commit a crime, I guess. Dealers where a greater percentage of background checks are rejected have higher rates of sales later traced as crime guns. Interesting. Dealers where a greater percentage of background checks are rejected. So that means that they just have bad clientele there anyways? Like they that people are coming into the store to buy guns knowing, well, not knowing, but that people who shouldn't be buying guns. Interesting. I wonder if maybe the people that get rejected from buying a gun like just come back to the same store with that straw purchase, have someone else purchase the gun for them. That could be it. Um Younger buyers purchase a disproportionate share of crime guns. All right. So if you're young and you're buying a gun, you're more likely to have that gun end up as a crime gun. Dealers in areas with higher gun robbery and assault rates sell more crime guns. Damn. So it's just really location. That to me that seems to be like the biggest thing. Like uh I need to commit a crime in this area. What's the closest store that sells a gun? You know? That's crazy. Large chains are unlikely to engage in risky sales, much less trafficking, said Joseph Bisbee, a former ATF agent who has trained over 1,000 officers on firearm trafficking investigations. It doesn't make sense from a business perspective, he said. Lax sales practice may be a factor in other crime gun sales, he said, including dealers, quote unquote, not taking the responsibility seriously enough or making a mistake that allows that straw purchase. At least one Turner's location in Pasadena displays posters from the gun industry's anti straw purchase program. Don't lie for the other guy. What a catchy phrase. Don't lie for the other guy. The ATF calls dealers the first line of defense against straw purchasing. Four current and former Turner's employees said the company's sales and inventory practices are relatively tight. ATF inspection paperwork from 2015, while citing one store's failure to file required reports, noted that overall, Turner's record keeping is, I don't know what that word is, meticulous? I think that is meticulous. Someone showing extreme, precise, scrupulous attention to detail. Okay, I was right. So overall, Turner's record keeping is meticulous. The chain doesn't allow sales in which a background check comes back undetermined to proceed. A former employee called the chain's more stringent sales practices a notable distinction from dealers that take a less cautious approach. The current and former employees interviewed for this story asked not to be named because they are not authorized to speak on behalf of the company. Most dealers and employees make a genuine effort to follow federal and state laws, according to Michael Urbanhart, a former firearms operation division chief at ATF. But dealers often fail to draw a line between their sales and subsequent criminal activity, he said. A store employee should realize that a gun is just my carelessness or my ignoring of the rules away from being used to kill somebody. Hopefully that made sense. Um, Eberhart advocates for informing dealers when guns they have sold turn up at the scenes of violent crimes. I guarantee you that changes behavior without enacting another gun law, he said. For its part, the public rarely learns where guns used in crimes were sold. Experts interviewed by The Trace called for an additional regulatory scrutiny on stores with high numbers of crime guns or low times to crime. Low times to crime. Oh, that's like when they purchase it and then when they use it for the crime. Okay. In practice, that step might be difficult. The ATF's inspection division, long a target of Republicans on Capitol Hill, has been understaffed for years. And last year, the Department of Justice shuttered an ATF program that monitors stores that has sold significant numbers of crime guns with low times to crime. Even when inspections happen, the agency has no baseline to compare stores against one another because it doesn't track sales. It's insane how in the dark we are on so much of this stuff, said Daniel Semenza of the New Jersey Gun Violence Research Center at Rutgers University. In addition to federal oversight, states can employ their own inspectors, which California does. But in 2024, the majority of those positions, 12 out of 23, were empty. Yikes. A very small percentage of dealers across the country are getting audited in a way that is really shocking, said Semenza. That's crazy. I mean, yeah, they're like super severely understaffed. Chains as the source of crime guns haven't been the subject of academic research, he said, in part because the data simply doesn't exist in most places. Semenza's work has found that in Atlanta, the presence of gun dealers in disadvantaged communities appears to drive additional gun violence. Wow, that makes sense. Another study documented that shootings increase in neighborhoods after a gun dealer opens. That's crazy. Just from it being open there? Crazy. California data exists thanks to a 2021 measure introduced by Assembly member Kevin McCarthy. This bill was a way to better trace and track guns that were used in serious crimes, said McCarthy, who is now the mayor of Sacramento. The measure drew bipartisan support in the state house, where only a single legislator voted against it. If you look at our gun violence rate versus our industrialized places across the globe, it's atrocious, McCarty said. Advocates say data California's can assist dealers in preventing sales to suspicious buyers, equip lawmakers with knowledge to craft better policy, and help law enforcement fight gun trafficking. Law enforcement sources said that regulators should assess operations across chains, something that is not standard practice in an industry in which locations are individually licensed. In late February, the Midwestern chain Fleet Farm settled a suit brought by Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison. The company agreed to uh, pay $1 million, change training and discipline related to straw purchases, and implement a new system that informs staff when a buyer's previous purchases were recovered as crime guns. Federal prosecutors had previously alleged the retailer sold dozens of guns to straw purchasers. States have mechanisms and abilities to push dealers to be responsible, said David Puccino, I think, legal director at gun safety nonprofit Guilford's Law Center. And they also have the ability to take action against those who fail to do so or refuse to do so. And that's it for the article. That was good, but I feel like I have more questions than answers now. But maybe this will inspire others to do more research. That's crazy. So, yeah. Okay. We'll see. We'll see. Chat, I kind of want to go, like I said, go to a Turner's outdoorsman and check it out firsthand. But okay. Uh, Real quick, I saw this crazy story from El Monte, which I know is a little bit outside of our local area, but it's LA, and it's crazy mayor news. Let's watch this together.
Power and retaliate.
Years, the El Monte mayor has been marred in a retaliation scandal involving a longtime resident. The mayor allegedly tried to get the woman fired, have the curbs painted red in front of her home, and reportedly sent a gang member to intimidate her. The political drama resulted in a lawsuit, a city council censure, and a public apology.
Our Mary Beth McDade spoke to both the mayor and her alleged target about the fiery battle and the legal settlement. She joins us live in studio. Mary Beth. Sharon Micah, as the mayor declares she's running for re-election. Her past term has been engulfed in scandal. She faced public criticism for allegedly abusing her power and retaliating against a community volunteer who dared to criticize her. Now, the mayor has publicly called her actions a misstep, and whether this misstep will impact her run for a third term, only time will tell.
Oh, she's asking for help.
What?
It was weird. Well, that's the mayor of El Monte, right? Yeah, and so she had all her girlfriends recording me, and I don't know why.
What?
It's September 2023. A known gang member is seen on video
What?
intimidating El Monte resident Gabby Leos. That's according to a lawsuit filed against the city, which would eventually lead to a $175,000 settlement, a censure, and apology from the mayor.
I'm running for mayor again, yes.
Now,
Wow.
Mayor Jessica Ancona is running for a third term. Even
After
though
doing
her first
that?
2 terms, she came under fire for that incident, part of a retaliation scandal involving Leos.
They censured her, and then she gave her speech. She said she was unapologetic.
What is
she
this
didn't do
music in the
anything wrong,
background?
and it was a misstep during a very contentious election.
That misstep at a local park in 2022 is what started it all. The mayor, running for a second term, yelled from her car at Leos, accusing her of campaigning for a
What?
competition. However, Leos wasn't campaigning for anyone that day. She was promoting a city program she co-founded. Leos, upset with the mayor's actions, sent her and the city council an email.
And in the letter, I told her she needed to do better. She can't be rolling around our city like a chola when we voted for her to represent us.
But that only made things worse.
Oh my God, this is crazy. Deviate said what? Question mark. This is crazy. Okay, this is El Monte. This is LA area.
Leos tells us the mayor abused her power by trying to get her fired from her job by repeatedly calling her supervisors and sharing that email with them.
I get
Oh my
another
God.
meeting with my boss, and he's like, hey, you know, the mayor keeps calling. Now she's having conference calls. Now she's crying on the phone. And I'm like,
What?
I'm on vacation. Are you kidding me? He says, no, like she wants something done. And now I have a Zoom meeting with my boss's boss.
What?
And
She works for Edison?
she's basically telling me that because she's the mayor, she can keep Edison from getting encroachment permits. She can make it difficult for them to work in the city.
Oh my
I never asked for
God.
them to do anything to her. I was simply an inquiry as to her status and role in Edison and her
What?
participation here. In the
So she doesn't deny reaching out to the lady's employer. Whoa, that's crazy. This lady's power crazy for sure.
Leos was not fired, but the bad blood between the two continued at city council meetings.
You are actually a
Okay,
train
second
wreck.
warning, Miss
You're a
Caro.
train wreck, and
Wow,
you're
it's like one of the
liability.
streams.
You're a liability.
Second
to
warning, Miss
someone,
Caro.
and nobody should vote for you.
The mayor had her back
Damn,
from council
sounds-
meetings and from volunteering for the city. And Leos claims she even used public works crews to paint the curb red in front of Leos'
That's
home.
crazy.
Her, the ex-public works director,
Yeah, she is rolling
put
around like
in
a gangster.
work order to have my curbs painted so that it can minimize the amount of space I had to park my cars.
That's
Which brings
crazy.
us back to that incident in
Look at okay, so this is the video, yeah, where the supposed gang member, which I don't know why they blurred out his face. Blurred out his face. It looked like she's at a block party, honestly. He's got a good looking michelada in his hand, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, he came over and intimidated her.
involving intimidation by a known gang member.
Oh,
With regards to
damn.
the gang member, I didn't know
Wow.
who this man was. I certainly didn't send him over to her.
She said she doesn't know who the man was. Bro, you were drinking with him. You were talking with him and drinking with him.
Back to that incident involving intimidation by a known gang member.
With regards to the gang member, I didn't know who this man was.
What?
I certainly didn't send him over to her.
That's it? Damn.
Well, the two women continue to battle at city council meetings. And as for layoffs, well, she used her settlement money to start a social media page called Local Loop to support local businesses in El Monte. She posts
Wow.
ads for them to encourage people to come visit her city.
Oh, damn, Deviate said Eagles jersey. That's gang relations, huh? Yeah. That's is number 92. Crazy. Crazy. I can't believe she said I don't know who this man is. I didn't send him over to her. And she's like clearly like chatting with these people. Wow. So that's crazy. Crazy. El Monte mayor getting covered like this. Imagine Ranch Cucamonga. I'm sure there's scandals like this everywhere. It's just we don't know about them yet. And we will. We will. Deviate said, "Nah, maybe the color green really the mayor's wearing green too in this video. She's wearing green." Where's like the main video? Yeah, she's wearing green. He's in his Eagles jersey. Let's see. Oh, they got uh I was gonna say Michelob Ultra, but it's not Michelob Ultra. I don't know. I see some. Wow. Yeah, the guy's right there. Huh. Crazy. Crazy. So yeah, crazy stuff happening in El Monte. All right. Now let's go to
is not quite legal. And
let's go to see this ridiculous Steve Hilton podcast YouTube video. It's an hour and 2 minutes. We are not going to watch the whole thing, but supposedly on the Steve Hilton show, he exposes what really happened to Javier Becerra's stolen campaign money. All right, we'll get into
got
it.
caught at it. And the question is, what did Javier Becerra know?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Steve Hilton Show. Very, very important information for you on today's show coming from Susan Shelley, who joins us a bit later with really blockbuster stuff on Javier Becerra. I'm going to talk about him in a second. So we're going to have a lot of good new information on him today. Some other amazing stories about homelessness, the latest insanity on that, and a wonderful guest called Aaron Berg, who you've met before if you're a regular on the show. He runs a wonderful gin distillery business in the central coast of California. And we talk about the Butterfly Bridge. Remember that? The sort of high-speed Butterfly Bridge to nowhere that was
What?
another one of the ridiculous waste of money insanities in California that we talked about a few weeks ago. We're going to get into that. But I do want to start with the governor's race and where we are and where we were earlier this week in Pomona College in the latest debate.
Oh, yeah,
This
we
one
saw
was
that
on
live.
CBS, and it was interesting because it's the first time that we've been together where we had really any sense that the real beneficiary of the Swalwell sleaze scandal was Javier Becerra, who's really come up in the polls. He's basically down and out. We thought he was finished. I guess he thought he was finished. He was one of the LPDs, as I call them, the low polling Democrats. Remember, he made a fuss about being excluded from the USC debate. It was supposed to have been held about a month ago. That was cancelled at the last minute because they wouldn't let him and the other LPDs on stage. And he made this whole ridiculous video complaining about it. And I remember thinking, yeah, fine, you've got to get attention. But really, your campaign is over. Well, it shows you, there's nothing is over till it's over in politics, which is one of the reasons I guess I'm very focused on my race. And even though it's looking good in terms of being leading in most of the polls, I take nothing for granted. We're working even harder all the time because things can change very quickly. And they have for Javier Becerra. He really has shot up these polls. And it's not just one, it's a bunch of them. Very clear.
Deviate said, he said Javier. Yeah, he does not, his little British accent.
Clearly, he's now, I mean, to be honest, he seems
Oh, look at okay. Well, he pulled up some polls right now. I don't know how much to trust this or not, but let's see. He's got Hilton at 19, Becerra at 18. Oh, okay. It's a aggregation of a bunch of polls, I guess. But Emerson College, that was the one we were kind of looking at. Oh, but that was from the 16th. They haven't done anything since. Um, they need to. Damn, I didn't know like they do polling a lot. 4-7, 4-12, 4-16. Like two did it on 4-16 and their numbers are different, but kind of the same at least. I don't know. It's weird. Huh. All right, let's continue with this.
Seems like he's the Democrat frontrunner. So let's just talk about him a bit, shall we? Because there's something about him that was kind of formulating in my mind. I couldn't quite put my finger on it. We happen to be next to each other on the debate.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking, who does this guy remind me of as we were standing there for an hour and a half? And, you know, I have sort of cordial relationship with him and I tried to get on with everyone. And so in the breaks, we'd have a little chat. It's nothing personal. And but I was thinking, this guy really reminds me of someone. Who is it? Who is it? And at the end of the debate, I realized, and you'll think this is kind of weird in one way,
Yes.
Biden. He really reminds me of Biden.
Oh
the
my
same
God,
kind of-
stop. He just read the article that said Javier Becerra has turned into the Democratic or California Democratic Party Joe Biden. Bro, I can't believe. Oh, I swear if in tonight's debate, Hilton like tries to swing at him, like tries to hit Javier with the "oh, you're Joe Biden and I'm Donald Trump" because that's what, Donald Trump endorsed Steve Hilton. But man, okay, crazy. Of course he would say
low
this.
energy, rambling, boring, kind of monotonous career politician, puppet of the Democrat establishment, says anything, doesn't really believe anything. There's no conviction there, nothing. Just classic machine politician. That's who he is. He's been knocking around California politics forever, come up through the machine. He was previously Attorney General. He's done all these jobs. Then Biden made him Health Secretary in his cabinet. There's a whole story about that, which we're going to get into with Susan Shelley. So
Steve Hilton can't answer a yes or no question when it comes to Biden winning the 2020 election. I know, which is crazy, but yeah.
make sure you stick around for that. Very, very, shocking actually. But not shocking because he's a career politician. He's a creature of the machine, this corrupt machine that they've built in California. That's what I thought when I saw him. Like he's just an absolutely classic career politician, just exactly like all these other useless failures that we've seen so many of in California. Because that's what happens when you've been in power this long. The machine just takes over and it throws up these creatures of the system. Like Becerra, just like Karen Bass is another one, very similar. Kamala Harris, of course, Gavin Newsom, and Biden. They're all the same, just machine politicians, no conviction, just calculation. What do they have to say to make things work for their political career? They are the puppets of the interest groups and factions and donors, the unions, the activists. They put them there and they'll say whatever they want. That's why, by the way, the Democrat establishment is so excited about Becerra. He's exactly what they've been dreaming of, a puppet that they can just stick him there and he'll do whatever they want, whatever the unions want, whatever the activists want, he'll just deliver for them. That's the basic story with this guy. And he reeks of it. And that's what
I just realized on the
vibe I was
screen
getting from him.
he
Biden
says
vibes. Very,
swamp
very strong
creature
Biden
Javier
vibes
Becerra
as he was
emerging as
standing there. Obviously
Democratic
completely different
frontrunner
people
for
in
governor.
terms of their
Swamp
background and
creature.
character and personality.
Javier.
But actually the same exact thing. Totally corrupt career politicians. Corrupt in the sense that they are owned by the unions and the groups that put them there. Now, let's talk about some of the details. I mean, he's running around saying he's so qualified for this job because he's been in government and he has these really ridiculous cliches he keeps trotting out like, this is not a job for on-the-job training. I've been... Okay, great. Well, let's have a look at that, shall we?
Okay, that's
First
true.
of all, one of the things he points to is his record. It's unbelievable he cites this, but he seems to think it's an argument for making him government, what he did as Biden's health secretary. Even the Biden people think he was a total calamitous disaster. If Becerra is indeed the guy that I go up against in the general election, my goodness, we're going to have some fun with him because there's all these books
Wow.
that were written.
No, you want Tom
Like
Steyer,
at the
buddy.
end of an administration, all these books get written about the Biden presidency. And one of the consistent themes in many of these books is the total contempt that the Biden White House had for Becerra. Like they just thought
Deviate said, what? No, if anything, the Dems don't listen to the activists. That's what a career Democrat would not listen. That's why a career Democrat would not listen to an activist. Yeah. Yeah. That's why the Democratic Party has been having this establishment disconnect problem for decades now.
he's an absolute useless waste of space idiot. That the Biden people. Now imagine how bad you have to be if the Biden people think you're an idiot. That's what they thought of Becerra. It's not me saying it. It's Democrats in the Biden.
Okay, but source
totally
on
useless,
that, bro?
totally
Source?
incompetent, can't get anything right. So there's a ton of detail that we're going to get into when we go through these books. But the one, of course, that just I always make the point is that this guy, he goes like it's amazing. He even on this debate stage, he was saying, as an example of what a great success he was. Literally, he said, I think to Matt Mahan or someone, or Antonio, I don't know who it was, you
Corporate
don't
Dems.
have to wear a mask anymore. Excuse me? Like that success? You never should have had to wear a mask in the first place. You never, because the masks were totally ineffective. I mean, I want to go back into all of that, but we know that now. The whole mask thing was ridiculous. The cloth masks that we're all told to
Oh
use
my
and
God.
paper things, ridiculous things,
Of course.
were
Of course,
completely
we're still on this
ineffective
COVID
against a virus
hating stuff.
that was very mobile,
Even though it's literally
airborne, much
done.
smaller than the holes in
Haven't
the
worn a
fabric. I mean,
mask in
just
forever.
all of this was established right in the early days of the pandemic. That's why I spoke out forcefully against masks, whatever. He's still going on about what a great triumph that was.
Deviate said, I want
And the
Steve
fact that
Hilton to
you
say
don't have to wear
Fortnite.
masks.
Yeah,
Excuse
he's
me,
going to say
you
it
only
real
had to
good.
wear masks with your stupid rules, including 2-year-olds. Masking toddlers. Brilliant. Great advert for being a governor. So that's the first thing. And then the other thing that just made me laugh was this great kind of genius of government, so well qualified, starts going on when the question turned to insurance about what he would do about it. He starts saying, oh, I'd declare an emergency and force the insurance companies to lower their rates or something. So first of all, that's just idiotic policy, price controls. That's what I say. These people just don't know what they're talking about. All these career politicians, they just say things without thinking about the consequences or what it would actually mean in practice, like Kamala Harris in the presidential campaign. Do you remember she was going on about price caps? That was the solution to inflation, just total economic illiteracy. And that's what he was saying about that. And then the mechanism, then how are you going to make the insurance companies kind of cap their prices? He says, I'm going to declare an emergency as governor. Now, of course, in one sense, you could say, yes, it's an emergency that people can't get insurance in many parts of the state, that it's so expensive. It's a disaster. I know it feels like an emergency if your insurance is so expensive or your coverage is dropped or you're paying more for insurance than your mortgage or your rent, which I've heard a lot from people. Of course, that's right in that broad definition of the term. But that's not what it's about. When you're governor, you have to, as I pointed out, you have to understand how the government works. And there's a very particular statute.
He just made fun of Javier Becerra for saying there's no time for on-the-job training. And then he said, there's no time for on-the-job training.
Out the emergency powers of the governor. Believe me, I've studied it because I'm all for using strong executive action to deal with problems. But I'm also for doing it in a smart way that actually works. And you're not going to be immediately blocked by the courts. And so the whole thing turns into a fiasco. And it's very clear when you look at the emergency declaration, statute and the description of it's not just, oh, the governor can just declare an emergency on anything they want. It's very limited.
Right. The duly proclaimed existence of conditions and disasters or of extreme peril to the safety of persons and property within the territorial limits of a county, city, and county or city. That's so confusing. Okay. Caused by such conditions, air pollution, fire, flood, storm, epidemic, riot, drought, sudden and severe energy shortage, plant or animal infestation or disease. The governor's warning of an earthquake or volcanic prediction or an earthquake or other condition other than conditions resulting from a labor controversy. So no, you can't, unless it's a strike, you can't. Okay. Which are or likely to be beyond control of the service personnel, equipment, and facilities of that political subdivision and require the combined forces of other political subdivisions to combat. That's kind of confusing to read, but I think it's just outlining the power that this emergency power that the governor would have, and that's pretty good. Like if I'm reading that correctly and understanding that correctly, they can't governor can't go against striking workers. That's really good. Deviate said the thing is Republicans have the wrong criticisms of Dems for the most part. Sure, they might say they are corporate Democrats, but Republicans aren't any better. Exactly. And it really depends on the individual or the person watching that to come up with their own assessment, right? It's like, okay, yes, corporate Dems are doing corporate, stuff. They're doing capitalism. They're doing all this stuff that big businesses, that are killing small businesses. Yeah, but Republican Party has been the party of big businesses for so long now. It's like, you know, uh, Republicans were a party of big business, and then Democrats came into the this free market neoliberalism later on. But still, the where we are today, both parties are for corporations. Their biggest donors are probably corporations or wealthy people.
And it's limited to specific things to do with health and safety. And I think the word peril, immediate peril of the population, all these kinds of things. And so the idea that you can just declare an emergency on everything is a sort of fatuous, ridiculous statement from someone who doesn't know what they're talking about. So for all his decades of swamping around in the political system and in government, he still doesn't really know what he's talking about. As I said, you can't have a governor who doesn't understand how the government works, and that is Javier Becerra. So there's going to be a lot more on him as we go forward, including on this show. Stay tuned for that. But I don't know if we if we end up with him as the opponent. I mean, people always ask me, who do you think you'd rather face? Looks like the three candidates that have a realistic chance of making it in the top two on the Democrat side: Becerra, Tom Steyer, the billionaire climate fanatic, or Katie Porter. Don't count her out. She's just about to start spending money. She's got a lot of energetic support in some quarters. So I think it's between those three. And people say, well, who would you rather face? I just can't decide. I mean, they're all so flawed in their different ways. And of course, you can't really affect it anyway. You just got to do your campaign well, which is what we're continuing to do and will do much more of. But the point about Becerra, one thing we know for sure, you look at him and the fact that, as I said at the beginning, he's just another one of these career politicians we are so sick of, who've run our state into the ground. He's kind of the living embodiment of more of the same. He's more of the same brought to life in human form. And I don't think that is what we want in California.
Who knows, bro?
Joining us, Susan Shelley, with some real blockbusters today, some amazing stories. We just ran through them. I can't wait to take our audience through them. Let's start with Javier Becerra, who I touched on at the top of the show. There's a lot there on him that we don't know about. You've come across something, Susan, that I hadn't heard about until you just mentioned it. Tell us what's going on with him, amongst many other things.
Well, I was reading the Substack of a Democratic campaign attorney by the name of Max Kanan, for someone for whom I have great respect, and he is writing about the fact that Dana Williamson, Newsom's former chief of staff, she was indicted for this scheme of moving money out of Javier Becerra's future campaign account. He had parked money in a campaign account, which is legal. You could run for something in 2030 and you can park money in an account to do that. And then you have to file paperwork with the FPPC, the Fair Political Practices Commission, or the Secretary of State, I guess, and you have to sign a form saying that this is true, and you swear under penalty of perjury. The candidate has to sign. The treasurer has to sign.
If the Dems are going to run it into the ground, then the Republicans will run it into hell.
Williamson to take about $10,000 a month out of it for no really good reason.
That's for sure.
And he says he didn't know anything about it. He was in Washington as health secretary and didn't know anything about it. But Max Kanan points out that he did benefit from this scheme because what Dana Williamson was doing was routing the money to the wife of Becerra's chief of staff when he was attorney general. And this enabled the chief of staff to go to Washington, which was going to be a pay cut and higher expenses. It enabled him to stay with Becerra. So Becerra got the person that he wanted on his staff as chief of staff because this scheme was behind the scenes paying him enough money to make that worthwhile. But the way the money was funneled is not legal. And the question is, did Becerra know? And the argument can be made that he had to know because he was benefiting from it. Okay. He had to know that this was happening. It's not plausible that he wasn't. So this is an interesting thing to look at. Dana Williamson was indicted on federal charges, and there are reports that she's negotiating a plea bargain. The chief of staff, Sean McCluskey, has already pleaded guilty, as did an additional person, a lobbyist named Greg Campbell. So people could be testifying behind the scenes. There could be more coming out in this investigation.
Let's just break it down. So Sean McCluskey was Becerra's chief of staff when Becerra was California Attorney General.
Mhm.
And then when Becerra was appointed Biden's health secretary in 2021, Sean McCluskey went with Becerra to be his chief of staff in D.C. Is that correct?
That seems to be correct, yes.
Right. What did Sean McCluskey
Oh
and
my
Dana
God.
Williamson
Sorry, this
plead
is
guilty to?
Dana
Kinda
Williamson has
boring.
not yet pleaded guilty. Sean McCluskey has already pleaded guilty to one count of conspiracy
Let me
to
just
commit bank
bulk up
fraud
this
and
video a
wire
bit.
fraud. And this is the investigation. This is a federal investigation, not a state investigation.
So let's just get this straight. He was appointed Biden's health secretary. He wanted to take his existing chief of staff with him to Washington, D.C. That would require a pay cut and also for this guy to fly back and forth because he has a family in California. Fair enough, but that needs to be paid for. The federal salary, whatever, wouldn't have paid for it. So Becerra wanted his guy. So the scheme is that Becerra hires Dana Williamson, pays Dana Williamson out of the campaign account, and then, which is just sitting there, and then that money, without being touched by Dana Williamson, the exact same amounts are paid to Sean McCluskey's wife.
Yes. Dana Williamson was paying Sean McCluskey's wife for a no-show job. So it's some sort of fraud. And that's what Dana Williamson was indicted for doing. And there's no evidence that she benefited personally from it, which is kind of odd. Why was she doing this? And once again, as you said, it seems like a political machine. It seems like they were using campaign funds in a way that is not quite legal and got caught at it. And the question
right.
is, what did
If
Javier
Steve
Becerra know?
Hilton
Because,
is
as I
really
said,
concerned
candidates have
about
to sign
campaign
these
funds
forms.
not being
They
used
can hire
properly,
lawyers to prepare them, but they are
maybe he
responsible
should
for what is
ask
on these
Donald
forms.
Trump
And he should certainly
and
know
that
he was the
Stormy
Attorney General of
Daniels
California.
payout.
He was responsible for enforcing the Political Reform Act.
Yeah.
So certainly he can't say, I was a newbie and I didn't know about it. That's not really going to fly.
Because up till now, the public narrative on this was that Becerra was, in some sense, the unknowing, innocent victim of this. That there were shenanigans going on with his staff and his advisors and campaign accounts, but they were just stealing money from him effectively without him knowing about it. He was the victim. But he wasn't the victim. He was the beneficiary.
Exactly. How could he not know about it? How could he not have had a conversation with his chief of staff about whether he was going to go to Washington and what it would take to make that possible?
Exactly, but that's the central point. He wasn't the victim. He was the beneficiary because it meant that he could have his guy with him in Washington. Perfectly understandable. Nothing against that. But do it above board.
I think if he had taken money out of his own personal account and paid it as a gift or as a salary to the chief of staff, that probably would have been legal. But routing the money secretly out of the account and to his wife for a no-show job, that does not seem to be kosher there.
Very, very interesting. Well, more to come. Thank you, Susan. All right, we'll see what happens. Let's move on to something that, again, is just, it's so wearily familiar to us in California. The latest saga in homelessness and its utter, catastrophic mismanagement. And one of the things that's bedeviled the whole issue is the endless litigation and recourse to the law and the rights of homeless encampments to exist and so on, and hiding behind various court cases. I mean, we've been through this history together. The original Boise ruling, which they claimed, that's Ninth Circuit, in Idaho, where they claimed stopped local authorities or anyone from removing homeless encampments because the ruling said that you can't do it unless you've got sufficient shelter available locally for everyone who's homeless. As you pointed out right from the beginning,
ask
that was just a pretext.
Hilton
The
about
previous
Trump
ruling,
doing a
even
bunch
that
of
original
pump and
ruling
dump
did not
schemes with
define
NFTs.
what was
Oh
meant by
my
shelter.
God.
Didn't have
I
to be
bet
some
he sure did.
$900,000 permanent
I
supposed
bet
to
he
be
sure
because
did.
you
Let's
could
look
have
that
cot
up.
bed somewhere. Nevertheless, they hid behind that.
We just got to
That
look
was taken
Steve
away in
Hilton
2024, the Grants Pass versus Oregon decision in
NFTs.
the Supreme Court, which overturned Boise. Now there's no excuse. And so actually, to be fair, some
No, not
cities
Paris
in California,
Hilton,
including
Steve
run by
Hilton.
Democrats, have started actually stepping up and started to try and remove these homeless encampments. Not with any great success. No one's really noticed, particularly. It's still a massive scandal. Everywhere you go in California, I'm on the road the whole time, you see it. But there's something just happened in Berkeley, which is just, oh my goodness, here we go again. What's the
Damn.
story?
No, I'm only
Yes,
finding
well,
news
Berkeley was
stories
trying
for
to
Paris
clear
Hilton.
a large encampment, which was the site of a disease outbreak, leptospirosis, spread by rat urine, which is
my God.
a horrible thing to think about,
Okay, let's
but that's what was
see.
happening. And so Berkeley wanted to clear this encampment for health reasons, as they should. Well,
They tend to go
LA
through or not
County
because
seeking
people
half-cent
buy these
sales
arguments,
tax
or is
on
actually we've got the point where
healthcare.
people are just not going to vote for a tax increase?
well, this is a really interesting
Oh,
question in this
Deviate
case
said,
because
no,
the
I was
ballot
saying Hilton should
label,
call out
the
Trump
title
for
that voters
stealing
will
from
see on their
people.
ballot
Yeah. Yeah,
says
but he's
that
not.
it's a general sales
You know, and that's where I
tax.
wish
They use the
Javier
word
Becerra would
tax.
say it with
That is
more
usually very toxic
more
for these measures. Typically, they call it
ferocity.
revenue, or they call it funding,
What he
or they
said
call
last
it
debate,
resources,
Steve
and you need a
Hilton, that
decoder ring
Steve
to
Hilton's
figure out that it's a
daddy,
tax increase.
referring to
In this
Trump.
case, they just said it. They just said it's a tax. And when there was a poll in the city of Los Angeles, which is the most liberal part of the county of Los Angeles, it was only polling at 45%. So it may not go
Los
through.
Angeles, he
All right.
has these
Couple
weird sources. I mean, he uses conservative sources. Okay. Well, that's it for that. That was okay. I thought it was going to be more, but Steve Hilton out here just not doing the work. Oh man, Katie Porter did a whole town hall. Yeah, we got 26 minutes until the debate. I got it queued up already. You can see it on stream, right? Yeah. Cause no, it's gonna be. Oh no, it's just a black screen, isn't it? Damn, Spectrum failing me. S- I gotta. Damn. So I don't think we'll be able to watch the stream live then, cause CNN has it. And it's freaking Spectrum. Hold on, we'll figure this out. Thank goodness we have time. Because here, let's oh my god. Francesca Florentini had Tom Steyer on, of course. All right. Let's just watch this for now.
Please welcome Katie Porter. Right here. Good to see you. Thank you so much for coming.
Yes, of course.
Well, let me just tell you how tonight's going to go. Bridget mentioned that we're going to take questions from the audience. We have between 8 and 10 folks who have written into us. We have not edited the questions. They will ask their own questions, and we'll hear from them in a moment.
Get your audio better.
Dang it. All right.
All right, never mind. But thank you for
broke it.
trying. Thank you, really, for trying. I broke it? Man, we'll start over again. Okay, so we will take questions from the audience, but why don't we begin, since
please clap.
you've been so helpful already. Tell us, why do you want to be governor and why you?
Yeah, so this race is really about California's future. And I think a lot of that is getting lost in the fear of the present moment of what Donald Trump is presenting, and also in California kind of having had like a series of kind of dynasty type governors. I mean, Jerry Brown wanted to be governor again, so we were all like, yeah. And then, Gavin made it very clear he wanted to be governor and waited 8 years, so everyone was like, yeah. And I think what's getting lost here is we have to make change in California, and we have to do it in a smart way. We can't do it in a reckless way. We can't do it in a way that's just about catering to donors. But we really do have to make change because it's coming. It's not a choice. AI is coming, and the changes are going to be tremendous. I just saw the billboards all over San Francisco today about don't hire humans. And I think if you'd asked someone
Don't
even
hire
2 years
humans.
ago, if they would have thought there would have been billboards saying that brazenly, we would have said no. So it's really about the future. It's about how do we bring down costs. Affordability for me, it's not a buzzword. It has been my life's work. And the fact that I'm not funded by corporations means that I really will do what I think is best for California. And that's the only reason that I'm in this race.
I mentioned in the intro, because you're so famous for this and you've put it in your ads, the whiteboard, which you used in congressional hearings to grill CEOs and big pharma. How does that translate into the governor's office?
Yeah.
Because you can imagine legislators might not take to that very well, being lectured or grilled. So how do you translate that into an executive position?
Yeah, so let's talk about that, because I think it gets at some of this question about who I am, how I would lead, the question that every woman faces, temperament. So let's talk about that. My job.
Hold on. Tell me if we could at least hear it. Okay, I have it muted right now. It's on a commercial.
APR for 72 months on 2026 Sierra 1500 models.
Homeowners ask me all the time, do gutter guards really work?
Leaf filter, sir.
Okay. So
Double the reign of
we will
common
watch
good Dalgard.
the broadcast. And by watch I mean we're gonna listen to it together. Oh, of course it shows up the freaking closed captions, but it's a black screen on everything else, and it's just a commercial. But yeah. So we'll listen to it. I know this might be low key, not on the up and up, but we will beg Mr. Alex Michelson to save us if anything happens, okay? We are here to support, yes, Alex Michelson and Caitlin Collins. I'm so excited for them. I'm sorry that we will not be able to see them. But yeah. That's crazy. Let me see if I go full screen. No, full screen is even. It's just black. Okay. All right. So we'll put this on pause for now, and then at 6 o'clock we will come back to that.
On the Oversight Committee was to hold powerful people to account. And I did that job, and I did it really, really well. I did it in a way that gave the American people confidence that government worked. I did it in a way that created deliverables, like free COVID testing for every single person in this country. But that was my job. It was to do oversight, and I did it. The governor's job is a little different. And I know that, and I understand that. So I think the best experience I can draw on is when then Attorney General Kamala Harris, in the middle of the middle of foreclosure crisis, she'd gotten the banks to promise to change their behavior. And then she realized that they weren't going to pick up the phone. They weren't going to help Californians. They were just going to keep sending letters that you're getting foreclosed on. And so she appointed me to set up a statewide foreclosure prevention program. And when I took that on, everybody said, like, this is too big. People are going to call. They're going to want help. God forbid. People calling government wanting help. And I not only set up that program, but we brought home double for California what the big banks had promised. And we did it. Our program spoke 6 languages. We traveled across the state. We went to churches. We went to military bases to help people figure out whether they could save their home, and if not, what their next best option was. And that is an example of not just taking government as it's always been, but asking, really, what do people need?
Her name
and
is
making
Bianca.
Government be that. And I think that's where we're at.
Her name is Bianca.
In California, we've spent a lot of money, California, and we keep spending more money. And people are saying, well, but the stuff isn't getting better. And that's a sign that we need to have some fresh thinkers, and we need to have somebody who's willing
Deviate said,
to
is Katie Porter for single-payer healthcare? I thought I saw something that she is for that, though I don't know. Yeah, Katie Porter and Tom Steyer are the only ones who are for single-payer healthcare at this point. I don't trust Javier Becerra.
At one of your aides, she was in the background of the video. And I guess it raises for some people questions about...
Yeah, that was a good one, right, Deviate?
Well, personally, like, I wouldn't want to work for somebody like that. But more importantly, for somebody who wants to be governor, how can you assure people that you will be good to work with, whether it's your staff or legislative staff or lobbyists or anybody who needs to deal with the governor? How can you reassure them that that was an exception, the person that they saw in that?
Yeah. So I mean, the single most important thing to me personally about that moment isn't something that I can easily show because it happened 5 years ago. The moment, but the most important thing, which was what happened right afterwards, which is that I apologized to that staffer. We finished our day together, working together, and we kept working together for 4 years after
I can't believe
that.
we're still talking about
And when
that.
I left the stage after the NBC
yes,
debate,
it's literally Hillary Clinton's emails all over again. It's
said,
like,
if I were a
Katie
California
Porter,
voter,
why
I
did
would
you
vote
treat
for
this staffer so bad?
And that means a lot to me. And so in all of the hundreds of times that I've been asked about this and talked about it, what has been lost is what I think should be most important, which was what happened with that staffer. This video didn't come from that staffer. This video came from an opponent to make space for himself. And I think that aspect of it is what troubles me the most. And in fact, the staffer said to me, I don't want this attention. I don't like being the girl who walked into the video. And I know you don't like being the lady who yelled in the video. But we are all better than our worst moments. I give that grace to everybody I've ever worked with, every staffer who's made a mistake who kept working for me the next day. And I'm asking for some of that grace from others. But I don't think we should delude ourselves, Scott. There's not a candidate in this race who hasn't made mistakes.
Yeah,
Some
of
of them very long-term
He's human.
decisions that they now characterize as a mistake. There are
People who aren't in the race anymore as well.
There are people who are not in the race.
They
The
made
California
big
establishment, including Sacramento, was very, very quick to hop on board that and unwilling to believe that Eric Swalwell could have been the kind of person with a bad temperament that led him to sexually assault people.
Oh,
And so
wow.
I do think we have to kind of
I
interrogate.
mean, yes, she's right.
Why does this moment, which is real and for which I genuinely have taken responsibility then and now and have shown that I'm going to do better. And I think a good example of that is, the interview with Julie Watts. Like, she was on the debate stage with me on Wednesday night, whatever night that was. And I
Oh, whoops. There we go. Ooh, I think I got it, chat. I think I did it. We hacked the system. Yeah, we're good. Okay, debate is going to be perfect. Pirates sailing the seven seas. And then I'll just delete the video immediately after. That's MAGA. Yeah. Damn. Mm. Yep. Around and round we go. Yeah. Yeah. No. Oh, damn. Get retail. It's she says she doesn't care if her kids do drugs. Yeah. Like 30%. Yep. Yeah. Damn. Deviate said stream is acting weird. Plus, can't hear the audio of the video. I could hear you though. Damn. Hmm. Maybe the settings I messed with made it funky. Let's see. Let's maybe because this is also live streaming in the background. Let's just watch this. Okay. I mean, I see it's dropped. Oh. Oh, 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 oh. I see. Spectrum is combating me. They were like, you can have the video, but now you can't have the audio. Let's. Oh, we can't freaking pause it. Okay. Okay, 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 okay. Let's see. Let's see what we can do. I bet better than have video, I would say let's have audio for the debate. All right. All right. Okay. Rally House is working, but no audio capture. There we go. Okay, I think we got audio back. You can hear the house music. I mean the Rally House music. Okay. Okay, okay, okay. Let's switch over to CNN. Okay, is black screen. We're on Anderson Cooper right now. Let's see.
Just
We got audio.
Going from left to right, you're going to have, a number of candidates, mainly Democrats, but 2 Republicans have also made the debate stage. They are the top 7,
All right.
according to latest polls.
Okay, so we will listen to the debate. I'm sorry, we cannot have visual, but I think audio is better than nothing. And we'll put closed captions on, so at least y'all can see something there on the screen.
Paranoia that they may not make it, but it's a little too hard to tell because we're in the early stages, still weeks till the primary. This is part of the dilemma here in California.
Let me put something else on.
This is a ballot. This is my ballot. You can see this orange section is for governor, but then flip it over. those are all the candidates. There's 61 names. So to really search for the person you want, you have to look for them. So a lot at stake here, because we're talking about the 4th largest economy in the world. Whoever is selected here is really going to set the tone in the country. This debate, John, is just one piece of figuring out who they want to vote for to make that November ballot, John.
I just reflexively reached for my reading glasses when you showed us all those names on the back of that ballot. Kyung-Hwa giving us an inside look at the debate hall. Thank you very much for that. Back with the panel now. We're also joined by CNN senior political analyst Ron Brownstein, a terrific reporter of all things California politics. Ron, what are you watching for tonight inside this debate, particularly after Eric Swalwell, we remember he was in this race just a few weeks ago, has left?
All right.
Yeah, a few weeks ago, John, there was existential dread among Democrats about the very dynamic you were just talking about, the possibility that in this top 2 primary system, Republicans would finish 1, 2, and lock Democrats out in a state where they traditionally win 60% for the vote or more. That fear has significantly dissipated since. 2 things really changed it. One was Donald Trump endorsing Steve Hilton, which effectively, I think, ended the chance that Steve Hilton will ever be governor of California, because the only way you would get to a top 2 Republican lockout is if they split the roughly 35% of the Republican vote virtually evenly. After Trump's endorsement, Hilton is going up, Bianco is going down, and the odds of a Republican lockout significantly diminished, especially because roughly around the same time, Swalwell got out of the race, which meant that the 65% or so of voters who are going to vote Democratic would have their votes split among fewer candidates than he was still in. I think the key now is not whether a Democrat reaches the general election when they would be significantly favored, but who it will be. Javier Becerra has benefited the most from Swalwell getting out, very similar to what we saw in 2020 in the Democratic presidential race, when people worried that Bernie was emerging as the lead candidate and that he couldn't beat Trump. Democrats fear above all getting locked out, and there was kind of a flight to safety for Becerra. But while he is the lead candidate, he's not in an impregnable, insurmountable position. And Tom Steyer, in particular, with all of his money, is still a threat, and you probably will see him going after Becerra tonight from the left.
All right, lightning round of the 5 minutes we have left, friends. David Axelrod, who is ascendant, do you think, in California at this moment?
Well, as Ron said, it's absolutely Becerra. He
throw
was
some,
really in the low single digits
before
all of this drama unfolded, and he has leapfrogged toward the top of this race, and he will be a target in this debate. Tom Steyer may get some incoming because when you spend $158 million, as he has, with plenty more to go, people are going to pay attention to
we got 4 minutes
but Becerra was the absolute
goes
beneficiary of it. He's been the Attorney General of the state. He's been a congressman. He was in the Biden cabinet. And he is a familiar figure to Californians who if they want the status quo within the Democratic ranks,
we got kitties in a box.
He is a pillar of the Democratic
Anderson, please no copy
there.
Hey, Van, David mentioned Tom Steyer, who ran for president a few years ago, got a lot of money.
Yep.
How much love can that money buy?
Well, listen, California is a particularly weird state, and it's 30 million people. You cannot knock on all those doors. And so money means a lot in California. You got a lot of mailers, you got a lot of TV districts and stuff like that. Look, Becerra was invisible. Nobody cared about him. And then Swalwell disappears and the Latin community comes forward. But here's how you know that this is a jump ball. The SEIU comes out and dual endorses both Steyer and Becerra. This is jump ball. Nobody knows where this thing is going. When the SEIU
right now talking
can't
is
pick
Van Jones.
Between
our
guy. 2 front runners, almost unprecedented. This thing is jump ball.
Yeah, listen, Becerra was in the Biden cabinet. You come at this from the other side, or maybe more toward the middle now. How much of a liability do you think that might be?
It certainly is. That people want to move forward. They want to look forward. But I think juxtaposed to Tom Steyer, there's this anti-billionaire bent within the Democratic Party. That is a knock on him. That is tough. I think Becerra can ultimately benefit from that. I'm really curious to see the swipes that they take at each other tonight.
Yeah.
But a dynamic I'm going to be watching is the Republican candidates are going to be making California as sort of a failed state right now, a referendum on Gavin Newsom, whereas the Democrats are going to say this is a referendum on Donald Trump. So what actually breaks through with the voters is going to be interesting.
What do you think, Scott?
Well, I think the Republican message is one-party rule good for a state. We've had one-party rule here for a very long time, and now California is losing population. Nobody can afford to live
chat,
here.
I'm going to go use the restroom real quick. We got 4 minutes.
A black kid
sorry,
in
2
California,
minutes. We got 2 minutes.
Is two
I'll
and a
be
half
right back.
times less likely to be able to read or do math proficiently in the 4th grade than a black kid in Mississippi. Why are the schools in California worse than the schools in Mississippi? You know, all of these things have happened under one-party rule. I interviewed Steve Hilton, one of the Republican candidates, on my radio show yesterday. He's quite articulate with this message. What I'm kind of interested in is what Alyssa was alluding to, is how much of this splashes on Gavin Newsom, and do the Democrats even try to engage in any of that content? Because I suspect what you're going to hear from them is Trump, 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 Trump. But for the people in California, Donald Trump's not running your local school. Donald Trump's not the reason your gas prices have higher taxes and regulatory fees. Donald Trump's not the reason they can't build houses after the Palisades fire. In fact, they've been trying to help clean it up. So I want to hear Democrats engage with what's the reality of living in California, which ain't too hot right now.
So, Ron Brownstein, back to you here, because there is a candidate who isn't on this stage tonight and won't be by choice, but who at one point maybe might have been. And that's Vice President Kamala Harris, who opted not to run here. I mean, how many Democrats, or to what extent are Democrats playing what if tonight?
Sure. A lot less than a month ago, when it looked like they might get locked out before Trump intervened and greatly reduced the odds of that. But sure, they don't have a top tier figure in this race. I think Steyer is hitting a limit, like Al Checky did back in 1998, spending enormous amounts of money. He's also got Katie Porter dividing up the vote on the left, where he's anchored himself. You know, but to tie all of this together, Indiana really explains why there's not going to be a Republican governor in California, among other things. It's that basically Republicans are afraid to distance themselves from Trump, even in blue states. We saw that in New Jersey and Virginia, and it just makes it insurmountable. I mean, Steve Hilton won't say that Joe Biden won the 2020 race in a state where Biden won 63% of the vote. He won't criticize Trump for the Medicaid cuts, which are going to throw 1.5 million people off of coverage in California. So pretty much any Democrat who gets to the general election is going to be strongly favored in a year when Trump's approval is only 30. The question is which one.
All right. Well, obviously, these are all the subjects that will be coming up tonight in this big moment. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here with us tonight. This has been Anderson Cooper 360, the CNN California governor primary debate, moderated by Caitlin Collins and Alex Michelson, starts right now.
All right, let's go.
This is the California governor primary debate.
The stage is set. The candidates are ready. Let's go.
Audio good, chat?
Happening now, just outside of Los Angeles.
Got an ad.
Candidates are about to take the stage in the fight to lead the nation's largest state.
Are we ready to save our beautiful state of California?
The Golden State's top job is up for grabs as Gavin Newsom exits after 2 terms and high-profile clashes with President Trump.
They poked the bear, and the bear is poking back.
The radical left Democrats have destroyed the state.
Tonight, a crowded field battles in the wide-open race for California governor.
Democracy is under threat. Everyone agrees we need change. That's what I'm fighting for.
With Democrats and Republicans fighting for just 2 spots on the November ballot.
My whole career has been about affordability.
We don't believe our politicians.
Which candidate can seize the momentum and who won't make the cut?
This race will come down to those who've earned it versus those who are trying to buy it.
Democrats vying to break away from the pack.
I'm a billionaire who wants to tax billionaires.
I am the only candidate who does not take
There we go.
corporate
Stream titled
contributions.
Shame.
If I have something, it's experience.
I want to make government work for people.
I believe healthcare is a right, not a privilege.
And Republicans hoping to shock the political world and turn California red.
We can
Someone
turn
said
things
all in
around.
on
We just have
Steyer,
to vote
baby.
differently.
All right.
Those currently in power
Let's see how he
are
performed.
completely out of touch.
Now, Democrats and Republicans on the same stage face off on California's future.
All right,
and the
DV8. Yeah,
challenges
enjoy on
facing
your
the
own.
country.
Come back
Listen
after
to the
if you
people
feel
and
like
focus
it.
on the
We're going to
issues
do a
they
little bit
care
of
about.
analysis.
CNN special event, the California governor primary debate, starts right now.
So telling that it's on CNN only and no streaming? No, audio only. Audio only, Angel City Girl. Thank you for joining. Hit subscribe if you have not already.
And good evening from Southern California, and welcome to our viewers in the United States and around the world. We're live from the campus of East Los Angeles College, and this is the CNN California
East
Governor
LA.
Primary Debate. I'm Caitlin Collins.
And I'm Alex Michelson. Tonight, you'll hear from 7 candidates seeking to lead the most populous state in the nation and manage the 4th largest economy in the world. Early voting
welcome
is
in
already
everyone.
underway.
Be
Ballots
sure to
are
hit
now
the
being
like
cast.
button.
And a reminder that the top 2 finishers,
We are doing
regardless
this
of party,
super on the
advance to
DL.
general election. Which is
Please
why we have
hit the
both
like button. It will
Democrats
support me.
and Republicans
Subscribe.
together
I
on
cover
stage
local
here
news.
tonight, and this race is wide open.
The candidates are former
Santa
Los
Cruz.
Angeles Mayor, Democrat Antonio Villaraigosa, former Congresswoman, Democrat Katie Porter, businessman, Democrat Tom Steyer, businessman and former television host, Republican Steve Hilton, Riverside County Sheriff, Republican Chad Bianco, former
Chad.
Health and Human Services Secretary, Democrat Javier Becerra, and the mayor of San Jose, Democrat Matt Mahan.
Candidates
Wait,
were about
where's
to
Katie
begin, but
Porter?
first a review of the ground rules that your campaigns agreed to in advance. Our goal is to facilitate a fair and
there's Katie
productive
Porter.
debate. Each of you will receive 1 minute to answer questions, 30 seconds for responses and rebuttals, and 15 additional seconds if one of us
Angel City
moderators
Girl,
asks
I'm gonna
you
give
for
you a warning.
clarification.
I don't know
The
what
timing lights in
DEI
front of you will
Tony's
remind
means,
you of these limits.
but
please respect
you
them
better be careful,
and the
okay?
other candidates
I got
on
my
the
eye on
stage
you.
during their allotted time.
Let's get right to it. California, as you all know, has long been a symbol of the American dream. But right now, many Californians are struggling to make ends meet. The state now has the highest unemployment rate in the nation. And according to analysis from our partner, USA Facts, it is one of only 5 states that lost population between 2024 and 2025. Secretary Becerra, given everything that I just laid out
You're going in timeout.
why did
5
Democrats
minutes,
deserve
Angel
another
City.
4 years in charge?
Caitlin, because Democrats are the ones that aspire to include everyone and not leave anyone behind. Like my parents, who came with $12 in their pocket to California, and they live the California dream. My 3 sisters and I, we got to live the California dream. But it doesn't come easy. You have to work hard. My mother today still shops with coupons, and you learn that when you watch that growing up. And I know that my job as Attorney General, as Secretary of Health and Human Services, is always to help people like my parents who are working hard. And that's why I fought for our families, made sure that when Donald Trump was attacking us the first time, we went toe-to-toe with him more than 120 times. I had to sue Donald Trump to keep him from destroying our state of California. When I was Secretary of Health and Human Services, we expanded access to health care to more Americans than ever in the history of the country. We were able to negotiate lower drug prices for the first time in history for Medicare, and we proved that we could drop prices by up to 80%. If we fight to make California affordable, people will stay and they will come to this great state.
Thank you, Secretary Becerra. Mr. Steyer, that question, why do Democrats deserve another 4 years in charge, is a key one. What's your response?
Well,
Caitlin
the biggest
Collins
problem in
looking amazing
California
right
is
now.
that Californians can't afford to live here anymore. And it starts with housing, but it definitely includes health care. It includes electric costs, which are twice as high as in the rest of the country. And it includes soaring gasoline prices. I have a plan for every single one of those. The difference between me and everybody else is I'm willing to take on the corporate special interests. I'm willing to push for single payer. I'm willing to take on the electric monopolies. They're spending big against me, and that proves it. I'm the change agent, and I'm the progressive.
Mayor Mahan,
We'll see
what's
about
your
that.
response?
Well, Caitlin, we deserve better. I'm the only Democrat in this race who has challenged the establishment within my own party to demand better results. I've made San Jose the safest big city in the country, unblocked thousands of homes that are now under construction, led our city to reduce homelessness faster than any other city. We don't need MAGA values, but we also don't need more of the same. There's a lot of talk on this stage, but we should be honest. The experience we hear from Secretary Becerra didn't lead to better outcomes. It led to 85,000 migrant children who were lost, more fraud in our healthcare system. Tom Steyer's making a lot of false promises up here, things that the legislature already rejected because we don't know how to pay for them. We need pragmatic, results-oriented leadership. I know what's at stake. I grew up in a working-class family. We were paycheck to paycheck growing up. I will fight every day to make life better for working Californians.
Mr. Steyer, do you want to respond to that?
I absolutely do. I will, on the first day, call a special election to close a corporate real estate tax loophole that's worth over $20 billion.
It's convenient to close it after you've profited from it.
The truth is that the California government needs more money because Donald Trump is kicking 1 to 3 million people off Medi-Cal, and our school system needs more money to support teachers and students. And I'm the only person on this stage that will go after corporations and raise the revenue we need to have a system that actually works for California.
So raising taxes
Mr. Hilton, can I get you to weigh in on this prospect as voters are facing this as they go and they're getting their ballots now?
So, Caitlin and Alex, it's interesting. We've already seen a couple of things that we'll probably see a lot of in this debate, which is the Democrats who are here who've been responsible for 16 years of one-party rule for everything that we see in California, won't take responsibility, and all they can talk about is Trump. Look, I was asked how I'm preparing for this debate the other day, and my answer was the meetings, the thousands of people that have come to our events the last year in California. I've traveled to every part of the state. I've seen the struggle and the stories. And that is my struggle and my stories. My parents were immigrants. The California dream is my dream, and I want that for every
His parents were
single
immigrants
one of
from
you
the
watching out
UK,
there.
brother.
We can get it back.
Oh, I mean,
You
from
heard
Hungary
Mayor
to the
Mahan
UK.
invoke MAGA values in his answer there. There are more than 2/3 of registered voters in this state who disapprove of President Trump's job performance. Why should voters who are unhappy with the performance of the president vote for the candidate that he's endorsed in this race?
So they should vote for the candidate who's got a concrete plan to make our state Cal-affordable. $3 gas, cut your electric bills in half, your first $100,000 tax-free, a home you can afford to buy. It's common sense, practical things. Most of my career has been in business. I know how to get things done, and we need to change. We need some fresh thinking after 16 years of one-party rule from these Democrats that have given us the highest poverty rate, as you mentioned, the highest unemployment rate, and the highest cost of living in the country.
Mr. Hilton,
Secretary Becerra, go ahead.
Mr. Hilton, how can you say that Democrats had it wrong
Antonio
when you can't
Villaraigosa.
admit that Donald Trump lost the 2020
You're on the wrong
election?
brown guy.
The fact is, all you do is point at Democrats, scream
Well,
at
you have been in
Democrats,
charge for 16
and don't have
years,
anything
Antonio.
else to say. And I want to chime in on what Matt Mahan said. He's not the only Democrat that's challenged his party. I have as well, and I have for a long time.
I don't
Alex,
know,
you said
Villaraigosa,
a
stop.
few months ago that I've been talking about affordability for years. I've been challenging my party for years because it's been Democrats that brought us here. But I can also challenge Donald Trump and say very clearly that he lost the election in 2020. You can't, Mr. Hilton.
Thank you, Mayor Villaraigosa. Mr. Hilton, I want to give you a chance to respond to that.
And I'll get a chance to respond to Mr. Mahan's attack as well.
Mr. Hilton, go ahead.
It's not Donald Trump who's given us gas prices $2 higher than the rest of the country. It's Democrat policies, which Antonio and all the Democrats here support. It's not Donald Trump that's given us the highest housing costs in the country. It's
Can't wait
Democrat
to see
policies
Bianca
that all these
meltdown
Democrats
whining.
support.
It's always entertaining.
Donald Trump is the president in all the other states of America where the cost of living is way lower than in California. Obviously, it is way past time for change in California, and endlessly going on about Donald Trump doesn't serve the needs of the struggling families and small businesses.
Being a little bit One Piece here.
Secretary Becerra, go
Sailing
ahead.
the seas.
So Mr. Mahan chose to divert from answering the question about affordability to launch attacks. What I would simply say to him is, let's focus on who's raising the cost of living in California the most, and that's Donald Trump. The price of gas has gone up $1 to $2 because of Donald Trump and his war in Iran. The price of goods, groceries, have gone up in California because of Donald Trump's illegal tariffs.
You
Let's
see, all
focus
they
on
can
really
say
getting
is
out
not
from
true.
most.
That's
All
just
they've
not
got.
true. We've had the highest gas prices on average over $2 than the rest of the nation for a very long time.
Antonio's
Trump's made
right
it
about
worse
that.
for sure.
Boys.
But it's not
Boys.
true.
Villaraigosa,
Oh my God, Katie.
Villaraigosa, I'll get right back to you, but Congressman Porter, I mean, to this question in and of itself, you're a Democrat who served in Washington. What's your response?
Look, California does need to make changes. The world is changing around us. We are seeing AI come and present real challenges with jobs. The pace of climate change is real. We have an unreliable federal partner who's made clear that California is going to attack California. Donald Trump has not made any bones about that. This is a real opportunity for California to set its eyes on the future. We do need to make change in California. And it is ridiculous for Mr. Steyer to claim that he's the only candidate that has taken on corporations, when I will tell you there are a lot of CEOs who've been whiteboarded who would beg to differ.
Thank you, Congressman.
Can I respond
Sheriff
to that?
Bianco, we haven't heard from you. Let me get your response.
Okay,
Well,
here we
thank
go.
you.
Bianca.
I just want to actually answer your question. Was why do Democrats deserve it? You just listened to probably 10, 15 minutes of why they don't. We are going to get
Take a
nothing
shot every
but the
time
same
Bianca
from them.
blames
They
Democrat
brought us
policies.
here.
We're already
Every
one
single
shot
one of these
in.
career politicians brought us to the point where we are here today. They do not deserve another chance. They have broken us with endless regulations that have destroyed California, destroyed our businesses, destroyed the cost of gas. We need a unbelievable change to get back. And unfortunately for all of them, I'm the only one on this stage that has spent a career making California lives better.
We're going to talk about the economy now. We'll get you in a moment, Mr. Steyer, but we're going to go to you, Mr. Mahan, with this question and the issue of affordability. As we know, right now, gas prices across the country are skyrocketing, due in part to the Iran war, the highest prices right here in California. Mayor Mahan, it costs $6 right now or more to fill up buy a gallon of gas in this state. Your opponent, Mr. Hilton, is promising to bring that price down to $3 a gallon in his first year in office. Is that realistic?
No, it obviously isn't. Look, I grew up in a farming town. I know what it means when the cost of gas goes up $1. People start actually having to make really tough trade-offs. Can you pay the rent? Can you put food on the table? I'm the only candidate in this race who has called for a suspension of the gas tax because
That's not true.
It disproportionately harms working families. We need to reform this tax and make sure EV owners and higher income earners are paying their fair share. But the truth is, Javier Becerra is misleading when he blames all of our cost issues on Donald Trump. I've fought against Trump. We've sued the Trump administration. We've blocked his cruel immigration enforcement tactics. But California's problems have been long running. We don't need more career politicians supported by the insiders in Sacramento. The truth is, we had the highest housing costs, highest energy costs, some of the highest unemployment and poverty rates in the country for years, long before Donald Trump ran for president. We need more pragmatic policies, removing regulations that are in the way,
sir.
reducing fees.
Mr. Hilton, to you, and then Secretary Becerra. Mr. Hilton.
So Matt says that it's obviously impossible to get to $3 gas, as I've laid out in my plan. Before the Iran war, there were 40 states in America with $3 gas or lower, most of which don't have the abundant oil reserves that we have in California. But because of the policies supported by Matt and all these Democrats, we are now shipping oil halfway around the world, 7,500 miles from places like Iraq, instead of opening up California oil and gas production so we can reduce costs and get $3 gas in California, which is my plan.
Steve, you know why we have those higher standards is because in places like Los Angeles, where we are today, it used to be that you couldn't breathe. Kids would have higher asthma rates. We have those higher standards for a reason. We can bring down costs over time, but it's
technology that's delivered
totally
that,
unrealistic that you're going to have $3 gas in a year. You're lying to
Secretary,
only in a Democrat state.
Secretary Becerra.
He said he's lying.
Well, I'm fascinated to see people argue that we should get rid of the funding for the roads so we can take care of potholes, the highways, so we can make sure that we don't have massive congestion, or our transit systems, by getting rid of the one way we fund those systems the most, the gas tax. If we were to get rid of the Trump gas tax, we would be able to save ourselves about $1 to $2 at least, just in the Trump gas tax as a result of his war in Iran. Let's start focusing where the real problem is. And yes, I'm going to repeat Donald Trump as often as I have to, because he's the real menace we have in California.
You've got nothing else to say.
Steyer, your perspective.
So let me say this. This war in Iran has driven up the gas by at least $1.50. And the truth is, we should be taxing the oil companies because they are getting a windfall profit as a result of the war that the president that they put into office started for no apparent reason. We should be taxing that money. We should send it directly to Californians' pockets, not to the government of California. And let me say this. Being in bed with oil companies is a mistake. Javier Becerra has taken the max amount of money from Chevron, and he has said they're good guys that we need. The truth of the matter is the oil companies are ripping us off at the pump. They're polluting our air, and they're burning up the
Thank you,
planet.
sir. Secretary Becerra, your response.
Yeah, it's a rich response from a guy who made his billions investing in fossil fuels, in oil companies, in coal companies. Now he makes the billions, and he has spent more than every other candidate combined in his campaign, using those profits to now try to buy his seat in the governor's office. Tom, the last thing we need is someone who makes riches from investing in oil companies and then accuse everyone else of doing the wrong thing.
Can I
Steyer?
Look, I walked away from my company 14 years ago so I could give back to California. I am the person on this stage who is fighting the oil companies. And the way that you know is they're spending millions of dollars to prevent me from getting elected.
Well, why not give back your billions of dollars that you raised that you made in profits?
Make polluters pay. And the truth of the matter is, every environmentalist in this state has endorsed me.
All right,
and the people who are opposing me, you can just follow the money. The oil companies, the electric monopolies are spending tens of millions of dollars against me. The environmentalists are to a person supporting me. That's what's going on in this election.
Let's talk about the proposed billionaire tax. Just last week, a
let's
one-time
talk about it.
5% tax on the assets of billionaires cleared a critical hurdle to make the ballot in November, setting up a clash over what could be the nation's first wealth tax. Congresswoman Porter, Mr. Steyer, as we just referenced, is the only billionaire on the stage. He supports this tax. You do not. Why not?
Because I support good ideas, not things that help me dodge political potholes due to my own background. This billionaire's tax is simply not good tax policy. And anybody who has watched me in Congress take on bank CEOs, take on pharma CEOs, challenge them for the fact that their workers can't make ends meet while they're pocketing $26 million a year, knows that I will speak truth to power. And here is the truth. This tax isn't going to fundamentally change California's economy in the way that young people and the working people of California need. It's a one-time tax, but we don't have one-time revenue needs. It taxes billionaires, as if half billionaires don't have two nickels to rub together and couldn't chip in a little bit more. And 90% of the money is dedicated to only one thing, when we have all kinds of revenue problems coming at us from our own decisions and Donald Trump. So yes, to a progressive tax code. Yes, to the wealthy paying more, but this tax is about cheap political points. It is not about really fundamentally changing California's economy for the better. That's going to take real political courage.
Mr. Steyer, just about cheap political points, your response?
No. I have said that billionaires like me should pay more taxes and the big corporations should pay more taxes.
Excuse me,
and
you
that's
literally
why,
said...
if this proposition is on the ballot in November, I'll vote for it. But going forward, we do need to go further. This is a one-time tax, and it also doesn't spread the money across the government the way everything else does. And specifically, it doesn't go to education and teachers and students, which is a critical need in the state of California. The tax I'm proposing to close a corporate real estate tax loophole is more money, and it's spread throughout the
only candidate that's actually balanced two budgets.
Congresswoman.
I'm confused. Do you support the billionaire's tax that is going to be on the ballot in November, yes or no?
Katie, I just said I will vote for it if it's on the ballot in November. So what I've said is,
but you just said it wasn't a good idea.
Go far enough that, in fact, it is a one-time tax, and it also doesn't spread the money throughout the government. Look,
let me weigh in.
Have an education
I'm the only candidate that's actually balanced two budgets.
We're going to bring Sheriff Bianco in first, and then we'll get to you, Mr. Mayor. Sheriff Bianco.
Thank you. So these Democrat policies of
There we
tax
go, another
everybody
shot.
to death and make them leave is how we started this program off to begin with. Everyone is leaving California, and it's because of their horrific policies. I agree with Katie that this is a horrific tax bill, but she is wrong on one thing. This is not a billionaire tax bill. You just have to read it and read what it is. I have spent my career suffering the consequences of their decisions and their policy that they love talking about. I am the one that deals with it. And the 140,000 people that are paying 50% of the taxes are going to leave. And then the wording of that bill makes the middle class and the lower middle class make up all those taxes.
Thank you, sir. The next question goes to you, Mr. Mayor Villaraigosa. In the last 7 years, Fortune 500 companies such as Oracle, Chevron, Charles Schwab, Palantir have all moved their headquarters out of California. Mayor Villaraigosa, your opponent, Congresswoman Porter here, wants to raise taxes on the most profitable corporations. Would her plan lead to more businesses leaving the state?
Yes. But let me just say, I'm the only candidate on this stage that's actually balanced two state budgets with a surplus and a tax cut. And I could tell you this, we over-rely on the upper income tax. That's why you have feast and famine virtually every year. So the problem with the billionaire tax, it's a one-time tax. It's flawed. If I believe that people that make that kind of money ought to pay more. In fact, when I'm governor, people like Tom, who want to pay more, will be able to do that. But at the end of the day, the federal government should do it because people are leaving, and they've been leaving because of the threat of this tax, just as businesses have been leaving because of the high tax state that we are.
Congresswoman Porter, your response in terms of your tax
regardless.
Yeah, look, I think all taxes should be progressive. And I think that is a core principle. And families get this. When they get a bonus, when they earn a little more, they trip up into a different tax bracket and they have to pay more. That's all I'm suggesting we do for corporations. And by the way, not only would that say to the corporation that has a banner year and makes $1 billion, you pay not the same rate. Maybe you pay a tiny bit higher rate so that we can provide tax relief for families earning less than $100,000.
Mayor Mahan, your thoughts in terms of taxing businesses?
Yeah, look, where I differ with my Democratic colleagues is they're all talking about how to raise revenue, make government bigger. Secretary Becerra always brags about how big the $1 trillion budgets were that he managed. I'm interested in making government better. The answer isn't always bigger. In San Jose, without raising taxes, with a balanced budget, we got thousands of homes under construction. We moved thousands of people indoors and led the state in reducing homelessness. We made our city the safest big city in the country, reduced gun violence by 71%. Californians are tired of the more of the same policies. We also, I think it's disqualifying that we have Republican candidates who are embracing Donald Trump's cruel and ineffective policies.
Let's go, Mr. Hilton, to you, and then we'll get Secretary Becerra in for his response. Mr. Hilton, disqualifying is what Mayor Mahan said.
It is. There's a very simple truth, which everyone in California knows, which is that taxes are too high, and we need taxes to be lower. And they're especially too high for working people in California. You got people on 70, 80, 90 grand in California, which doesn't get you very far, who are paying 9.3% state income tax.
Thank you for
that
the
is higher than the top rate in most other states. That's why my plan eliminates state income tax under 100 grand. And by the way, if you think that it can't get worse in California, I've got two words for you. Tom Steyer. Under Tom Steyer, the taxes will be higher, gas prices will be higher, everything will be higher with Steyer.
Okay, we'll go to Steyer, then we'll go back to Becerra. Mr. Steyer.
I do think it's rich to hear someone talk about $3 gas who is owned by Donald Trump, who has driven up the gas price by at least $1.50. And I do think it's rich for somebody who is
Trump owns Hilton. That's crazy.
1 to 3 million people off Medi-Cal, the poorest people, most vulnerable people in California, so that he can lower the taxes on the richest Americans and the biggest corporations. The truth of the matter is what I stand for is shared prosperity, real growth, supporting businesses, but sharing it work so that the people in California get what they need.
Thank you.
And going after corporate special interests is the way we're going to drive down costs.
Thank you, Mr. Steyer. Secretary Becerra, Mayor Mahan suggested that you're interested in growing the size of government. He says he wants to cut it. Your response to that?
I didn't say I want to cut it. I said I want to use the revenue we have today to make government better. We need to demand Sacramento do better before we ask working people to pay more. All of Tom Steyer's proposals will just increase cost.
Secretary Becerra.
Mayor Mahan should take a look at my record and he'll realize that the largest health enterprise in the world, the Department of Health and Human Services, is big. It's because we have to make sure we're doing everything to improve the health care for 333 million Americans. And we balanced our budget 4 years in a row. So, Matt, here's the thing. I've been able to balance budgets much larger than your city of San Jose and make sure that we continue to improve health care for more Americans. But on the issue of taxes, here's the point. everyone should pay their fair share. No one can claim that a CEO who's making more than 1,000 times more than their line workers is paying their fair share. And Tom, one of these days, let us know how much money you have in the Cayman Islands so we can make sure we tax you your fair share.
Okay, I'm going to answer that because I pay full taxes on everything. I'm invested in all over the world, and I pay full California and U.S. taxes on absolutely everything. That's not fair. But what is fair is this. I'm going to drive down costs. The idea that
you use every tax loophole available.
By
you pay the lowest tax rate of anyone on the stage.
By going after the electric monopoly that no one else here will take on. We're going to introduce competition. I'm going to go after the oil companies, make them pay for their pollution, and have a windfall profits tax.
Look,
I am going to drive down costs for working people, and that will not only work for them, it will work for the corporations who employ them and make them more competitive.
Thank you, Mr. Steyer. Mr. Mahan, your chance.
Yeah, I have to go back to this point about it's not always about the size of the budget or how big government is.
But being able to balance it is an important point.
Yeah, but Javier,
I think you have to admit that.
Here's what I would ask you to acknowledge, which is you keep referencing your experience as your main qualification, but what have those 30 years of experience gotten us?
More Americans insured than ever.
No, hold on. Let me finish.
Well, you asked the question.
Higher and less affordable health care that's squeezing.
Actually, not on my watch.
Squeezing out
the price
no,
of
we did not. Healthcare costs have gone up relentlessly.
You haven't
health
talked to the millions
outcomes,
of Americans we helped insure.
If I could just finish my point.
Well, you have to make sure you say something that's factual.
Okay, it's pretty. You can go look at the data. Healthcare costs.
That's right. Look at the data. We were able to get more Americans insured than ever in the history.
Mind if I just finish the point?
Mr. Mayor, finish your point, and then Secretary Bissell,
one at a time.
Three really quick points. Yeah, I'll just
can we talk about the issues you're not
be prepared to fact check, though.
When it's your turn, go ahead. So higher healthcare costs that are squeezing families today, worse health outcomes, and as fraudulent and wasteful spending in healthcare grew, Javier Becerra did nothing as AG and as HHS secretary. Well, it's as bad as ever, and you've been in a career politician.
That's time, Secretary Becerra.
Yeah, totally untrue. Man, that sounds like a MAGA talking point. Listen,
it's just the facts.
Under my watch, more Americans gained health coverage than ever in the history of the country, more than 300 million. Under my watch, we were able to give folks access to the Obamacare insurance policies on the marketplace for, in some cases, $10 or less a month in premiums. Today, those are skyrocketing, and people are losing those premiums and insurance coverage because Donald Trump abandoned those health care subsidies.
Thank you, Secretary.
Learn the facts, Matt, before you start talking on the stage.
We're going to come back to health care because obviously it's a huge topic for everyone in this state. I want to turn to another critical issue, not just in California, but also in the entire nation, which is immigration, as all of you know. Mr. Hilton, right now, President Trump is enacting a policy of mass deportation. As you know, roughly half of California farm workers, which are an essential part of this state's economy, are undocumented. As governor, would you push to deport them?
So I'm the only immigrant on stage. I'm a legal immigrant, and Americans support immigration.
He said he's the only legal immigrant in California.
And what we saw under the Biden administration, open borders, undermined everybody's support for immigration. And as governor, I've made it very clear, although it is the federal government's responsibility to determine and implement immigration policy, I think it's important that all the laws are peacefully enforced. And as governor, I would make sure that we work with the federal government to enforce our laws.
So you'll deport them.
Expect.
So just to clarify, Mr. Hilton, do you support deporting those undocumented farm workers?
The policy on deportation is the exact same policy that we saw with President Obama. In fact, the numbers of deportations right now in our country and in California are slightly
but just
lower.
To clarify your
Can you answer the question?
Just to clarify your
I've answered the question, which is I will work.
Will you deport them?
That
was the question.
Well, would you, Antonio? Because the governor of California, as you know, doesn't make that decision. It is the president of the United States elected by the country.
Will you oppose them? Six of the people here don't even know who deports anyone. They just want emotions to rule the day, so you support them because they don't even know what the governor can and can't do. Or if they do, they're lying to you.
Congresswoman Porter?
I can't believe that on a stage with 30 minutes of interrupting and bickering and name-calling and shouting and disrespect for everyone up here who's stepping into public service, that anyone wants to talk about my temperament.
My God.
You were
Talk
actually
about your
interrupting them too. I don't
Oh
know why
my
you want to
God,
act like
yes.
you weren't.
Oh, cowboy
Steve
up
and
cupcake.
I sat here
She said cowboy
smiling
up?
at each other because we're just watching you all prove to everyone why they can't vote for a Democrat.
What?
Exactly.
I'll answer the question.
Congresswoman Porter, first off, do you want to respond to that from Sheriff Bianco?
Yes, I did not interrupt. I did not go back and forth. Mr. Bianco, you've been very well behaved tonight, especially compared to CBS, and I actually appreciate it that you've been waiting your turn and following the rules. And I would appreciate it if everybody could do that, because I think Californians are actually owed some answers to questions.
We were told we can interject.
Congresswoman Porter, on the question itself on these farm workers, which are a big part of California's economy, what's your answer to that? As Mr. Hilton is saying, it's the decision of the federal government.
It's the job of the governor to protect every single Californian, period. There are no qualifications on that.
Are you doing that? Are you doing that by having a sanctuary state policy? Absolutely not. And I was on the stage telling everyone what was going to
I
result
would like to get
from sanctuary state.
Complete
and it's forcing
you
us to be
interrupt.
less safe.
May I give an answer?
Go ahead,
It's the job of the California governor to protect every single Californian. The sanctuary state policy is designed to make sure that our state resources, the taxpayer dollars, the public servants that we have are focusing on doing their jobs, which is not cooperating with the federal immigration authorities. These are Californians. They contribute to our economy. They pay taxes, and they're one of the only ways that our state has been growing in recent years.
Mayor Ragosa?
You know, you say you're a sheriff, and I know you are, but you clearly don't know what the sanctuary law does.
I'm the only one up here that has to work with it.
Mr. Bianco, excuse me. The fact is, since 2019, the state has turned over 12,000 violent criminals to the federal government. Sanctuary law does not protect violent criminals in the way that you constantly say they do.
Yes, it does.
This state has turned over 12,000 criminals. I'll tell you what I think is illegal is a sheriff of Riverside County sequestering
It's because you're lying to
votes
people.
in the way that you did.
It's because you're lying to people right now.
The Supreme Court said that you shouldn't have done it in the first place.
No, they didn't.
May I interject on this?
Caitlin, can I go?
Go ahead, Mr. Becerra, Secretary Becerra.
So I'm the only one who actually has experience taking on Trump in the way
here
he's
we go.
handling
Same old
undocumented immigrants.
Becerra routine.
Because when he was president the first time, I was the attorney general, and we took him on straight on in court. We stopped him from trying to force local law enforcement to do the bidding of ICE. We were able to make sure we protected the DACA program for our dreamers all the way to the Supreme Court, and we beat Donald Trump. What we have to do is make sure that Trump cannot invade California, and you can't stop him if you've got a governor like Steve Hilton, who is his dad. Donald Trump's his daddy, and he will protect him all the way through.
Thank you, Secretary Becerra. Mr. Hilton, I'll let you respond to that, and I have a question for you, Mr. Steyer, after that.
I don't want to respond to silly name calling, but I'd like to actually respond to something Katie said. And I think it's probably a sincere policy difference between us. She said something very revealing, which is the only way really that California's economy has been growing in the last few years is through illegal immigration. And I just don't think that's the right way for us to be growing. I think we need to help small businesses create jobs and opportunity, and for Californians to be able to earn more and live the California dream, and for entrepreneurs to want to start businesses in California. That's how we should be growing our economy, not by illegal immigration.
Congresswoman Porter?
I mean, given that you're an immigrant and you added to our
Illegal
population,
immigrant.
and we're all having to live with the consequences of that decision.
Oh my
Katie,
God.
there's a difference I think you'll accept between legal and illegal immigration.
Yes, and I wasn't referring to, I was saying that immigration has been a major source of growth in California's economy, and that is true.
Thank you,
let me say
Congresswoman.
this.
Mr. Steyer, I've got a question for you on immigration, because you want California's Attorney General to be able to hold both ICE agents and their leadership criminally liable for what you say is, quote, violent illegal conduct on the job. Does that include the former DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, who oversaw the ICE operations in Los Angeles last year?
Look, the governor of California should hold people accountable who break the laws of California, specifically including ICE agents and the people who send them to racially profile, which is illegal. And use violence against Californians, which is illegal. And it should go up the chain to the supervisors, right up to Stephen Miller. If he's sending people to racially profile and hurt Californians or kill Californians, he should be held liable. It is not legal for federal agents to come to California and break the law. It is absolutely critical that California's governor does stand up for everyone in California. That in fact, ICE to me is a criminal operation. I've said all along, we should abolish ICE. It's breaking the law. It is coming here deliberately to break the law. And that's why I'm saying we should hold them accountable. We should inspect the detention centers that they have in secret.
So just to
we
clarify,
should have a
Mr.
legal
Steyer,
defense fund. Yes, I do. I don't know. I would go all the way up the chain. I've gone as far as Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller should be held accountable for what the ICE agents do in California that he sends.
But just to clarify, since Kristi Noem was the Senate-confirmed Department of Homeland Security Secretary, do you believe that she is someone who should be prosecuted?
If she has given the orders to break the law in California, yes.
Sheriff Bianco, what's your response
to
that?
prove it?
No one has broken the law in California. And this is why we fight in the streets and people are out rioting, burning down Los Angeles, because politicians like this sit and lie to everyone. They get them all infuriated up with emotion because they don't want to tell the truth. ICE agents are enforcing the law. And sanctuary state policy, Democrats forced ICE into our cities and streets and neighborhoods to find these criminals. And I want Mr. Villaraigosa to tell the mother of the 14-year-old in my county that is dead because of an illegal immigrant that had been deported 3 times because of DUIs that sanctuary state policy keeps us safe. I don't think she's going to agree with you. And the mother of my dispatcher that was killed is not going to agree with you.
Mayor Villaraigosa, do you want to
If
respond?
an undocumented worker killed somebody, he should go to jail. He should be prosecuted.
It's too late, don't you think? How about the 3 DUIs before that?
Finish?
No.
Or do you want to be the bully that you always are?
No,
you know, you're an oath keeper. We all know that.
And I'm very proud of
keeper.
it.
No, well, you should.
I'm very proud of
Well,
it.
I'm
And
sorry.
guess what? You're
I'm
going to
sorry.
swear an oath, and you swore an oath. You should know what you were
Well,
swearing
I'm
and
sorry.
be proud of defending
I
it.
don't think an oath keeper is qualified to be governor.
I don't think
of
you know what
California.
an oath keeper
But
is.
let me answer the question. I said, if an undocumented person committed murder, they should be held accountable. They should go to jail. And you keep on saying that sanctuary prevents violent criminals from
No,
being
I didn't.
turned over.
I said it prevents
In fact,
criminals.
as I said earlier.
I said it prevents criminals. Don't
No,
lie for me.
In fact, as I said earlier, thousands have been turned over since 2019.
Obviously
And,
not enough.
Steve Hilton, let me be clear. You know, I know you're recently arrived to California, but if you've read the Bay Area Institute, the UC Merced study, immigrants, if we took them all out, including the undocumented, it would be a $274 billion hit to the California
Sheriff Bianco,
economy.
just to follow up on what you were just saying there, and you said you're a proud oath keeper. Are you referring to the group?
I've sworn an oath 3 times to
Or you're
defend my
referring to taking
Constitution.
an oath and- as
yes,
your
and
job?
everybody that wants to, like, again, lie and emotionally get all spun up about the Oath Keeper organization, I just would, before you do that, and I know none of you have, I want you to go read the mission statement of the Oath Keeper mission statement and the
I saw them on
ACLU.
CNN attacking the Capitol.
And the ACLU. I
Whoa.
saw a politician molesting kids. Does that mean you molest kids?
What?
Exactly. Don't pull
What?
those stupid statements out and
sir,
expect to not
sir,
be
you're
called
an
out.
oath keeper.
But Sheriff Bianco,
You
just
have
to be
no
clear,
reason to.
There is
you're not
absolutely.
qualified to be
just wanna
governor of
clarify.
California.
I am extremely proud of swearing an oath to defend my Constitution against politicians like this.
And do you still consider yourself a member of that group, to be clear?
No.
Okay, thank you, Sheriff Bianco. Secretary of Sarah, on the
Whoa.
question itself, do you also support prosecuting the leadership of ICE?
I think we should police Donald Trump's masked mercenary force that they call ICE. I think we should prosecute any of the forces that violate the law. And I think we should jail anyone who has violated the law. That goes all the way to the top.
I
If
agree.
anyone has violated the laws of California, they should serve time.
And I'm telling you, no one has.
That's, you know, there are 2 people who are dead in Minneapolis because they were simply
Whoa.
doing
Don't
their
lie.
civic duty and being able to
Your
act
civic
under
duty
the
is
Constitution.
bringing a gun and fighting with cops. Your civic duty is to try and run over cops. Come on.
Well,
You've already been called out
of
by
oath
your other
keepers
Democrats.
brought guns to the Capitol,
Let's
Mr. Bianco.
just be honest.
Sheriff Bianco, as the member of law enforcement here, last week the Department of Justice sued the state of New Jersey because the governor there signed into law a mask ban for ICE agents. A similar law in California was blocked last month. Do you believe that ICE agents who are conducting immigration enforcement should be able to wear a mask when they're on the job?
I believe that the state of California doesn't get to dictate what they do. Do I allow my deputies to do that? In certain circumstances. So the answer would be, I guess, yes, because depending on the circumstances that the federal government has jurisdiction over that, they can decide what they want to do. My deputies doing their work don't do that, but there are some circumstances where deputies and police officers would do that. So if we're honest and talk about what this really does and what it is, everyone would come up with a logical answer. But when you talk about emotions and you fire off emotions and untruths, I think they get defended with lies, but untruths, then you just confuse and
But Chad,
mess
you're
up the entire thing.
you're not being honest about the impacts.
That's
Look,
a chilling answer.
I was just
Yeah, that's a chilling answer.
There is.
This has turned into the Chad
We can all
beatdown.
agree that we should have a secure
Oh
border.
my
If
God,
you're
everyone's
committing
attacking
serious and
Chad
violent crime,
Bianco.
deportation is the consequence. But I was just in the fashion district on the side of downtown Los Angeles, where I met with small business owners who have tears in their eyes because they don't have customers anymore, because Donald Trump's cruel and indiscriminate enforcement based on the color of people's skins, the language they're speaking, it has terrorized a community. It's targeting the Latino community. It is disproportionately impacting our
Mayor
immigrant
Mahan.
neighbors.
Congresswoman Porter, what's your view? What's your response?
Donald Trump sucks. And I don't think that anyone who doesn't see that he is targeting and hurting Californians
off
and
the
won't
rails,
stand up
chat.
for everybody who is counting on them to be their leader and keep them safe has no business being governor.
Congresswoman Porter, thank you for that. Mr. Hilton?
Antonio mentioned me earlier and said I just recently arrived. It's true. I arrived here in 2012 with my wife and my two sons. But what's interesting is that I don't think there's an appreciation of the difference between legal and illegal immigration. I've spent many, many times right here in East LA, where we are, with legal immigrants, with families of legal immigrants who really resent the unfairness that we're seeing in California, where you have illegal immigrants who are getting free benefits, housing, welfare, and they say to me, look, we did it the right way. We
not
worked
true.
hard.
That's
we
not
came
true.
the right way.
Candidates,
yet
don't worry.
We are not getting fairness, and we need to restore fairness in our system.
Thank you, Mr. Hilton. And candidates, don't worry, we have many more questions to come up from both of us ahead.
Oh
and much
my
more of
God,
CNN's
Chad.
California governor primary debate right after this.
What a crazy debate so far. Oh my God, thank you for joining me. If you haven't already, like this video. I would appreciate a subscription. I cover local news and politics. As you can see, I am low-key streaming the CNN debate, risking it all for everyone in chat. Please hit the like button. Who do you think is winning the debate so far? Oh my God, it's been nonstop. I feel like Chad Bianco is... Oh, first off, shout out to whoever in chat said Chad Bianco's neck is cherry red. You were 100% correct on that. It was so true. Chad Bianco was almost there fumbling, but he held himself really well, I think. Steve Hilton, however, I don't know, man. Steve Hilton is struggling. Javier Becerra's out there. Yeah, Scott G said no one is winning. I tend to believe. Right now, it just feels like they're just teaming up against Chad Bianco. It's crazy. Oh my God. We had Katie Porter trying to act like the mom of the group, saying, "Boys, boys, boys, please settle down. Mama Katie Porter is here." And you know what? I don't blame her. Poor woman is like, y'all have been attacking me the past few months over being too emotional, being too angry over my staffers, or over me firing my staffer in that video, or demeaning my staffer. And man, she's like, look at all these boys on stage arguing with each other. No one's gonna know. No one's gonna notice. This is how men always operate. Crazy. Doc Holliday said she has crazy eyes. Damn, leave Katie Porter alone. You want to know who has crazy eyes? Is Chad Bianco. He's got those cop eyes, and he's always watching. Oh my God. We need to fix our state. Don't vote blue. I don't know, man. Do you think it's going to come down to the Republicans? I don't know. I feel like right now, Matt Mahan has made some little bit of gains. He hasn't been talking much, but you know what? He put himself out there enough tonight, I think, to hopefully get a little boost in the polls. But I don't know. Tom Steyer, I'm getting little energy from Tom Steyer. Has been doing too many media rounds, I think. He's been on every show, every podcast. He's been spending his money like crazy. Tom Steyer, the billionaire, has been spending his money like crazy. I don't know if it's going to work or not. Becerra might be faltering. I don't know. Javier Becerra seems like he's being not pinholed, but being put in as the centrist Joe Biden type Democrat. Okay, we don't want a Republican, so we'll all rally around this singular Democrat to support him. We'll see. I think right now, though, is still more of an opportunity for some Democrats to drop out. Some of them have to, just there's too many Democrats in the race. And I don't know about the Republicans. If the Republicans, of course, the ad shows up on the screen. Of course, the advertisement shows up on the screen. But thank you for being here, everyone. We're streaming the debate on the not on the up and up. So please hit that like button if you haven't. It would support me. And check out some of my other videos if you can. Doc Holliday said, "I am blessed to be an American. I am honored to receive my citizenship, and I and many in my town are Democrats, but we are tired of seeing what's happened to our state. I'm sorry, but I'm voting red." Hit like and subscribe. Doc Holliday, question for you. Did you vote red in the presidential election? All right, I think we're going back to the debate. Here we go.
Primary debate on stage tonight. 5 Democrats, 2 Republicans, all battling it out for 2 spots on the ballot in November. The next governor of California, as we all know and have talked about tonight, will have to work with President Trump for the next 2 years. Congresswoman Porter, you recently put out an email, a fundraising email, with the subject line, F Trump. And you're not censoring it like I am right now. And you went on to say, quote, "That's right, F Trump. Together, we're going to kick Trump's ass in November." Will F Trump be your guiding principle in dealing with the president?
When Donald Trump hurts California, as he has again and again, then I will absolutely stand up to him, 100%. He has denied wildfire funding to help disaster victims here in California. He has made it clear that he is seeking to specifically punish California in canceling green energy projects here that create good, high-paying jobs while he's allowing them to continue in other states. We absolutely have to be clear about the risk that Donald Trump presents to Californians and to our economy and to our ability to change California for the better. So if he's going to attack California, yeah, F him.
Wow.
Mr. Hilton?
I think the next governor of California will have to work with the administration and with the president that the American people elected to get good results for Californians. And by the way, my attitude will be to work with the president regardless of party to get good results for Californians. Now, it so happens that we have a president who has endorsed me for governor, and we've discussed how I can work with his team to lower gas prices in California by opening up energy production, to reduce wildfire risk by proper forest management, to get the fraud and the waste out of our state budget so we can cut taxes. These are all practical ways we can work together to help everyone
Thank you, Mr.
in
Hilton.
California
Secretary
watching.
Becerra, what's your view of that as someone who served in the federal government?
Well, I served and we helped the state of California when I was at the Department of Health and Human Services. But when I was Attorney General, when Trump was president the first time, we took him on. Every time he tried to attack our state, when he tried to force us to do things that were against the law, when he tried to deny us our resources, we took him on. That's why I had to go toe-to-toe with him in court over 120 times. And most of those cases, we were able to win. I will tell you this, whether it was on women's health care, whether it was protecting immigrants' rights, whether it was defending our environmental laws, we took him on. And because Donald Trump doesn't understand the laws very well, we were able to beat him over and over, including taking the Affordable Care Act all the way to the Supreme Court and defending it.
Mayor Mahan, on that fundraising email and that phrasing that the Congresswoman used, I mean, do you believe that F. Trump is a good guiding principle as the governor of California in working with the federal government?
Well, Caitlin, look, my approach is to fight for our values. As mayor of San Jose, I've sued the Trump administration multiple times, increased funding for our immigrant neighbors who are under attack. We've prohibited ICE from using city property as a staging area. But I will also never forget that the best resistance is delivering results, showing that California's progressive values work in practice. That's what I've done as mayor. One of the only people on this stage who can point to real results that matter in people's lives. Safest big city in the country, 1/3 fewer homeless people, thousands of homes under construction.
Thank you, Mayor Mahan.
Thousands of new small businesses, real results, not a lot of rhetoric. That's not going to beat Donald Trump.
Sheriff Bianco?
Yeah, I promise every single person out there that you're not going to hear one word from me about President Trump, President Biden, or anything else, because I'm going to be the only one on the stage that's actually going to be the governor of California for Californians. And I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you and blame somebody else for our problems that have been absolutely caused by 70 years of Democrat rule in the Assembly and Senate and 16 years of one-party rule by their policies, their things that they put in place that have destroyed the ability to live in California.
Thank you, Sheriff Bianco. Mr. Steyer, what's your take on this?
Look, I started an organization in 2017 to impeach Donald Trump because I've been in enough boardrooms to know a crook when I see one, and he is a crook. And what we can see that he's doing now is he's sending in ICE agents to racially profile and harass Californians. He started a war that's driving up our gas prices, is taking tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars that we need for schools and for healthcare away from us. He's kicking people off healthcare. The truth of the matter is the governor of California is supposed to stand up for Californians against anyone. And that is exactly the only thing that Donald Trump,
thank you, Mr. Steyer.
The only thing he respects is strength. He's a bully, and the only thing you can do is stand up to him.
All right. Now let's turn more about the healthcare crisis in America. Millions of people are dropping insurance coverage after Congress allowed Obamacare subsidies to expire. In California, new enrollments are down 32%. Secretary Becerra, in late March, you said you'd, quote, deliver a state-run, publicly funded health care program for every Californian. But in a recent meeting, you reportedly told a group of doctors that you are not supporting single payer right now. So which is it? Would you push for single payer as governor or not?
Oh, let's be clear. I've been consistent for over 30 years. When I was in Congress, I talked about how Medicare for all is probably the most efficient way that we can do healthcare, and I have always been there. I haven't changed. And so those reports were inaccurate. I continue to be for Medicare for all, and I can show you how I have actually expanded healthcare because those very subsidies that you mentioned are what help us reach record levels of Obamacare coverage. More than 24.5 million people under our watch were able to get their health insurance coverage. That is now going down because Trump has denied people the chance to have those subsidies. And the Republicans and Mr. Hilton, who has been endorsed by Donald Trump, haven't said whether they would fight to help those Californians regain their coverage. And so, Steve, will you support having those tax subsidies for Obamacare returned to those Californians who are losing their insurance today?
We didn't get an answer.
We're gonna. First of all, I just want to clarify real quick, and then we'll get you guys in. So, as governor, you're pushing for a single-payer system in California?
We should try to get to a Medicare for all program. And while we are continuing to work in that direction, we should make sure we are expanding coverage because the most important thing we have to do is give people peace of mind that they can afford their health care and that we will continue to give it to more families.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Steyer.
Look, I am for single payer. Absolutely, because the only way we can deliver healthcare as a right at a cost that California can afford. And that's why the nurses support me. I was with them this morning. They know that I will fight for single payer until we get it. And maybe those reports were wrong, Javier. But the truth is, the group you are with, the California Medical Association, is the strongest group against single payer in the state. And they just spent the maximum amount of money. They maxed out to your campaign after that meeting. So somebody didn't understand something, because they are supporting you with the max amount of money that they can give.
Secretary Becerra responds, then Congresswoman Porter.
Yeah. So a guy who is funding his campaign to a tune of over $150 million with profits made from oil companies, from helping fund private for-profit prisons that are detaining immigrants in California, has a real short memory span of how to make sure this place works. I continue to enjoy the support of healthcare sectors throughout California, doctors, nurses. I've got the endorsement of nurses as well, and I will continue to fight to make sure everyone has access to good quality healthcare in California, as I proved it when I was Secretary of Health and Human Services.
Congresswoman Porter.
Well, golly gee, I also have the endorsement of nurses, so three's a crowd. The question, I think, is trying to aim at, do you support CalCare, California having its own state-run single-payer system, yes or no?
Is that a question?
Sure, go ahead.
As I said, when I was Secretary of Health and Human Services, I was able
like
to.
So is that a yes or a no?
I'm answering the question.
Okay.
So the most important thing about having a Medicare for All plan is that it includes everyone, for all. And what we have to do is get to the point where we are covering everyone with something like Medicare for all. So I am absolutely for Medicare for all.
Congresswoman,
and we will get there. We'll build towards it, because that's the way you get folks covered. Yeah. That's the way I did it.
Congresswoman Porter, then Mayor Ragosa. Congresswoman.
Covering everyone with something is not single payer. It's not even federal Medicare for all. But you won't say that whether you support California having its own state-run single-payer system. Look, Tom ran against single-payer in his presidency before he changed his mind and has decided to run for single-payer. I'm not disputing that, Tom. I'm making sure everyone knows. And you've been consistent on this point. You've been consistent.
I'm going to answer that.
But I want Javier to answer the question. Do you support California having its own single-payer system, yes or no?
And Katie, the answer there is that Californians don't care what you call it, so long as they have affordable health care that they can use to take their child to the doctor or the hospital
I'd
when
like
they
to use
need
my
it.
magic wand and give everybody affordable health care.
It's Mayor Ragosa's turn. Go ahead, sir.
You know, I believe in that healthcare is a right, not a privilege, that it should be universal, affordable, and high quality. But the fact is, Javier, I've been in enough forums with you where I've heard you say you're for it, and I've heard you say you're against it.
I've never said I'm against it.
Hold it.
I've never said it.
Let me finish. I've heard you say that you're against it.
And if it's such a great forum that I said it in.
Can I finish?
If you could just point the forum that I said it, because I've never said it. So
we've been at many forums where you said it, but let me finish the point. It's a $500 billion price tag. You need the federal government. You need Donald Trump to approve it. Our budget is only 350 plus, and next year we're looking at $18 to $35 billion deficit. People like you are the reason why we keep on spending more than we got. So at the end of the day, let's be clear about this. This is pie in the sky. Yes, we all would like to have health care that's affordable.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
But we won't have a
Secretary Becerra, your
billion
response to that argument that this is just too expensive for California. Your response.
Look, healthcare is expensive, but what we have to do is reduce the cost and expand the coverage to everyone. And that's what I did as secretary. They can ignore those points. They can lie about them. But the fact is, by the time I left the secretary position at HHS, we had expanded coverage to more Americans than ever in the history. And we had dropped the cost of care for millions of Americans under Obamacare.
And
those are facts.
It's $550 billion price
Mr. Hilton, to you, the idea of single-payer health care.
Just listen to these Democrats arguing about whether to go left or even further left when that's the direction that's got us into this mess. The highest cost, the highest taxes in the country. I'm the only person here with actual experience of single-payer healthcare, both as a patient and as a policymaker. As a patient, it nearly killed me. That's another story we don't have time for. As a policymaker, you end up with the worst patient satisfaction, cost that you can't afford, taxes sky high to pay for it. It is a total disaster. And the actual way we deal with healthcare in this state is to at least stop spending $20 billion a year on free healthcare for illegal immigrants who shouldn't even be in the country in the first place.
And he's referencing his time as a UK citizen before moving to California. Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, once again, we're hearing a lot of rhetoric at the extreme ends of the political spectrum here. When the secretary left his position, healthcare spending was a bigger share of GDP than ever before, pushing families to the brink. It's an administrative nightmare, as everybody knows if they've ever tried to get an insurance claim filed. We're not talking about the real issue here. And Antonio's right. All the candidates who are fighting for single payer don't know how to pay for it, and they're not being honest about it. The reality is our healthcare system is broken. 30% of the cost in California is an administrative cost. We can use technology to bring down those costs. Number two, we are not incentivizing health.
Yeah.
We reward fee for service, more procedures, more prescription drugs. We should reward doctors and health systems for making people healthier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Steyer, this next question is for you. It's on the same topic, so you can use some of your time for that. In last year's budget, Governor Gavin Newsom cut health care funding for undocumented immigrants to address a budget gap. As governor, would you restore that funding?
I believe everybody in California has a right to health care. But the truth of the matter is, it is eating up our budget. And it's more than that, Alex. It is eating up every single family. You talked about how many people are giving up healthcare so they can make healthcare, so they can make rent. You're talking about businesses that can't compete because healthcare is so expensive. And it is eating up the budget of the state of California. When people sit here and say, let's do the same thing, we can't afford to do the same thing. It is eating up our budget. Look at the numbers. That's why I changed my mind, Katie, because I looked at the facts. Single-payer healthcare systems cost half as much as the system in total that we have now. And yes, it's going to be a big, job to get us to single-payer. But the truth is, we don't have a choice because right now, people are suffering. They're giving up healthcare. Every medical crisis turns into a financial disaster. The truth is, we don't have a choice but to go to single payer, and you need somebody who's going to fight for it. And the person who's going to fight for it.
Why do they cost less, though?
To clarify, Mr. Steyer, on the question of health care for the undocumented,
I said everybody in California has a right to health care. And let's answer this.
California should fund that.
The truth of the matter is, immigrants built this state. Immigrants make this state run. Yeah. The fact of the matter is we had a broken immigration system, and now you want to victimize the people who are working here and making the state run.
Thank you,
As
sir.
Antonio said, try and get rid of them. You can't do it.
Let's go to Sheriff Bianco. Your thoughts on this idea of undocumented health care funding?
It's ridiculous. When are we going to draw the line at any other crime? It's illegal. They entered the country illegally. We're not going to incentivize them to come here to take more of the resources that regular Californians aren't getting. The ones that are struggling here, that are here legally, they're not getting that. They're not getting free education. They're not getting free medical. They're not getting free food. They're not getting all of those things that the illegal ones are getting. And we're somehow celebrating that when the legal immigrants here don't get that. It makes absolutely no sense. And healthcare, no one's talking about, how about we try and make people healthy?
So, Congresswoman Porter, your thoughts on the idea of funding health care for undocumented immigrants statewide?
Yes.
Yes, and
that's, by the way, what I think Californians deserve as answers to these questions, Alex.
And for critics who say that we can't afford it, what do you say to that?
We can't afford to have people who are sick, who are making the rest of us sick. When anyone doesn't have care, when anyone doesn't have care, the rest of us are at risk. When people don't get vaccinations, when they don't go to the doctor, they wind up in the emergency room. They cause longer lines for the rest of us. They make our healthcare system, they push it to the brink. And that was exactly where we were when we expanded healthcare and health coverage to make sure that everyone can be healthy. The direction that got us into this mess is Democrats catering to big pharmaceutical companies and big insurance companies, which Mr. Becerra has taken $2 million from in his career, and still won't give us a yes or no answer on where he stands. Every other candidate on the stage gave an answer on single payer, and it was clear he's the only one who won't. And to me, with health care on the line, that's disqualifying.
Thank you.
Secretary Becerra, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, first, immigrants, whether documented or not, work hard. They pay taxes.
Yo, thank you for the subscription, Nicholas Gamboa.
It would be foolish to
Nicholas
tell a family
Gamboa,
that they don't have access to the pediatrician or the family doc, or not be able to use the community health center where it wouldn't cost us so much to give them access to good health care. Instead, what will happen is that child will get so ill that they will have to take that child to the hospital. And what door do they enter? The most expensive door in the healthcare system, the emergency room door. Why do that and spend so much money when you can do it up front? And so, yes, let us provide the care to all the people who work hard and make California a better place.
Secretary Becerra, thank you for that. I have a question for you on another issue that has come up repeatedly during this campaign. You're actually part of a lawsuit against Sheriff Bianco here over his seizure of more than 500,000 ballots.
That's correct.
That was brought up earlier in Riverside County from last year's election. He says he's investigating allegations of election fraud. Election officials say that those claims aren't valid. Do you believe that the sheriff here committed a crime?
The sheriff is supposed to enforce the law. In this case, Sheriff Bianco violated the law. There are ways that you treat ballots. You have to maintain the integrity of every ballot. So you know, I know, we all know that no one will tamper with your ballot. There is a chain of custody requirement that the law says you have to follow in order to let that ballot move anywhere. Sheriff Bianco,
I believe he broke the law.
Sheriff Bianco didn't follow that process. He violated the law
not talking
as
about
the
elections.
sheriff. So absolutely, that's why we are suing.
Yo, thank you, Edgar Montoya, for subscribing. Shout out to Edgar Montoya for the subscription.
And break that chain of custody.
Thank you for the support.
That's against the law. That's why we're suing, and that's why he's going to lose in the Supreme Court.
Sheriff Bianco?
It's not true. None of that is true. This is all political so he could get his name in the papers that he's suing for all of it.
It is
it's
true.
All garbage.
Sheriff Bianco.
You don't know anything about it.
Yes, I do. It is true.
Can I answer?
You broke the law.
Can I answer? I am tasked, elected and tasked with enforcing the law in Riverside County. And part of that is fraud. Election fraud is against the law. There is absolutely nothing we did that was illegal. And the real issue here is the Attorney General just doesn't want them counted. So the issue at stake in the Supreme Court is whether he has the authority to order me to not do an investigation. That's all this is. Don't lie. You two have no idea what was going on in that investigation.
Secretary Becerra,
you're making it political.
Yeah, he's being sued by the Attorney General, but he's also being sued by those of us who want to protect the ballot. And what we're saying, Sheriff, is if you're going to try to get a ballot, follow the law. The law is pretty clear. All you had to do was read the law. You cannot take ballots, confiscate them, and count them yourself. You have to have people who are trained and
the judge
authorized to do that.
We can,
you
and the
cannot
judge
do that.
agreed.
That's why the Supreme Court has stopped you from being able to count
what's your view of
That's a
this?
lie.
My view is that it's a bit rich for Javier to talk about following the law when he is mired personally in a corruption scandal where his former chief of staff, Sean McCluskey, when Javier was appointed by Joe Biden to be health secretary, he wanted his chief of staff to go with him. The salary wasn't enough. So what did they do? They took money from Javier's campaign account to top up his salary by funneling it to Dana Williamson, Gavin Newsom's former chief of staff, so that it was paid to this guy's wife. All of that is illegal. It is against state law. It's against federal law. My running mate for Attorney General, Michael Gates, has this evening written to Javier Becerra to make it clear that when he is Attorney General, Javier will be investigated
Thank you.
and, if
Mr.
necessary,
Hilton,
prosecuted for these crimes.
Mr. Hilton, just to clarify the question about the seizure of the ballots in Riverside County, do you believe that Sheriff Bianco took the right step there?
I'm not going to weigh in on something that I don't have the knowledge of the facts on. I trust that Chad is interested in what we should all be interested in, which is ensuring the integrity of our elections and restoring faith in our elections in California. That's why I support voter ID in California. Let's see what these Democrats think of voter ID.
Secretary Becerra, your response to Mr. Hilton.
Yeah, first, Steve, read the law. In order to remove ballots, you have to follow a process. Sheriff Bianco didn't follow it. If you're not going to enforce the law as governor, then why would you want to sit in the office? But
if you're going to break
probably the same fraud you investigated while you were Attorney General.
This issue, Steve, again, read the indictment. I was not involved in the actions that
it was your chief of staff.
Well, actually, Javier,
let me, if I could just finish
I know where all my
campaign
finish
the response.
Secretary Becerra, go ahead.
Yeah, Steve, if you knew the law, you have to have basis to sue to go after someone criminally. I am not involved in that action. Now,
it was your chief of staff, and it was your decision.
And the people who
because
your money, people who
you were the one hired to go to Washington as health secretary, and you wanted him. You wanted this guy by your side, and the reason that the money was transferred is because the salary wasn't high enough, and that's why you engaged in this scheme, which is illegal under state law and federal law.
Continue responding.
So you notice that nowhere in the indictment is anything that Steve said included there. If you violate the law, you will be prosecuted. No one is above the law. You will be held accountable. If I had been involved, the U.S. attorney would have had me in that indictment. I was not involved. But here's what I will say. Steve, I hope you speak as ferociously about Donald Trump's violation of the law every time you're sitting in the governor's office trying to protect the people of California, because the last thing we need is to have an executive who continues to violate the rights of Californians and have a governor who just sits back and agrees with that executive named Donald Trump.
All right, let's talk about housing. Skyrocketing costs, severe shortages have made the state unlivable for many. Overall home ownership rates are at their lowest since the 1940s. Mr. Hilton, you say that California needs to, quote, end the war on single-family homes. Your housing plan focuses on the building of single-family homes over high-density multifamily developments. Why do you think that's the best approach?
And just today, I launched a new plan for starter homes in California. One of the most heartbreaking things I see is young people, they come to our events, and I ask them, do you ever see yourself owning a home in California, starting a family here? And they say no, and we're going to have to leave. And that's why we've got to enact a very straightforward plan. Number one, we have to get rid of the regulations that make it 2 or 3 times as expensive to build the exact same home in California as in neighboring states. We have to stop the lawsuits filed by the unions who support these Democrats that get in the way of building housing. And to your point, we have to stop trying to force housing into suburban neighborhoods where people don't want it. Instead, we have to build single-family homes in the places in our state that do want to expand. That's the plan, to make sure that we can restore that California dream of home ownership. It is the heart of opportunity for our young people, and it's been taken away by these Democrats and their policies.
Mayor Mahan, your response.
Yeah, look, again, these guys can talk, but I've actually delivered as mayor of the 3rd largest city in the state. I removed barriers to building thousands of homes that are currently under construction. We added thousands of interim housing placements and brought homeless neighbors indoors, reducing our unsheltered homeless population by 1/3. We've led the state in building ADUs and making it easy for people to put backyard cottages in for a child returning home from college or a grandparent. I'm the only candidate on the stage who has actually taken on the bureaucracy, the red tape, reduced fees and permitting times, and delivered housing for working people.
Mayor Villaraigosa.
Well, actually, I built more market rate, affordable, workforce, and homeless housing in 8 years in the middle of a recession than they did in the 12 years before me. So you're not the only one on this stage that has done that. But I want to return to what was just mentioned. Look, the fact of the matter is Javier Becerra's chief of staff has been indicted. A number of people have been indicted. Javier signed those documents. He said that he thought $10,000 wasn't a lot to maintain that account. Well, he actually had 2 accounts. The other one he paid $1,500 for. So the fact is, he may not be indicted at this point, but he has to be under suspicion because it doesn't pass the smell test.
Secretary Becerra.
As I said, anyone who violates the law should be held accountable. If people want to judge me on what I've done. I expanded healthcare to more Americans than anyone in the history of the country serving as secretary. I was able to negotiate for the first time ever lower drug prices as Secretary of Health and Human Services. I took on Donald Trump when he tried to attack the state of California over and over again. If you want to judge me Judge me on the things that I've done, not on spurious claims made by people who are trying to become governor of the state of California.
Let's talk about homelessness. Mayor Mahan, this question's for you. California has among the highest homeless rates in the country. Sheriff Bianco takes issue with the term homeless itself. He says, quote, we will quit calling it homeless. This is not about homes. They don't even want homes. They're perfectly happy where they are. Do you agree that Californians sleeping on the streets don't want homes?
Well, look, first of all, I just have to set the record straight on Javier's touting his experience. The Biden administration, President Biden, openly talked about firing him, had to sideline him during COVID because he wasn't delivering results. And I am still in shock in this debate that despite being given the opportunity 3 times in a row by Katie, he was unable to clearly answer the most important question on health care as our former Secretary of Health and Human Services.
That question. I answered
on
it very
homelessness,
clearly.
though, I can't let that slide. I'm sorry.
Sure.
The facts matter. On homelessness,
I did answer the question.
I have led the state in reducing unsheltered homelessness by finding a balanced approach that is compassionate but also accountable.
It's not
I stood up to the system that was building $1 million a door solutions, taking years on end, and said, this is never going to scale. We're building basic, dignified shelter. We're working with our county to expand inpatient treatment. And when those beds are available, we are requiring that people come indoors. That's a pragmatic approach. It's leading the state. It's what we need to do in every city and county in California.
Sheriff Bianco, the issue of homelessness, then we'll bring you in, Mr. Steyer. Sheriff Bianco.
Yeah, so this has nothing to do with homes, and it's unfortunate for the people there that they were just relocated to a hard roof instead of a tent so he could run for governor, because he had 4 years to do that and chose not to, but right before he runs for governor, he has to relocate all of them. The bottom line is this: that's not compassionate, because they're still under the influence of drugs. They're still experiencing mental health issues. They're still experiencing the combination of both, and we are not giving them the treatment that they need. This is not about homes. This is about mental health treatment, drug and alcohol treatment, most importantly, the combination of both. And it is not compassion if we are not going to give them.
We're going to give the mayor a chance to respond, and then we'll bring Steyer into the conversation.
I mean, it's interesting. In fact, first of all, more than half of the candidates on this stage have visited San Jose to see our success in interim housing. We've added thousands of units, moved thousands of people indoors. And just in the 3 years that I have been mayor, we have graduated about 30% of those people to permanent housing. Yeah. We're saving lives, fewer deaths on our streets, fewer tent encampments. In fact, right now we're in the midst of resolving the last large tent encampment in the city of San Jose. Those are the kinds of results we need to see statewide.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Steyer, the issue of homelessness.
I'm going to jump in. Homelessness is very important. But the number one problem in California is Californians can't afford to live here. And the number one issue on affordability is housing. And we skipped over it. We didn't really talk about how we're going to build houses in this state. And the truth is, people can talk about permitting, and it's true. I worked for reform of CEQA. They can talk about zoning. We need to build densely around public transportation. And they can talk about constructing offsite that'll drop costs by at least a third. But what they don't talk about is the cities and counties of this state do not want new housing, because new housing brings in people and they can't afford to pay the health and education costs. That's why the fact that I'm willing to close a corporate loophole and bring in 22. No, but let me say this. This is the key. They will welcome housing if they can afford to take care of the people. And I talked to a mayor on Saturday who said, if you'll do it, I'll support you. And I love it.
I want to turn to
he's talking about raising taxes on small business. When Tom says we're closing a corporate loophole, what he's not telling you is he's raising taxes on commercial property across the board. That means all of your office uses, all your small businesses. That's just going to get passed on to consumers and make the cost of living in California even higher. And it's not going to fund single payer, because that's 10 times more expensive than the revenue he's going to collect. Raising taxes isn't always the answer, Tom.
How is it possible that he could possibly know what this bill says since it hasn't been written? The truth is, we're going to give an exception for small businesses. The idea of this is corporations are getting taxed for real estate on their basis in the 1970s. Disney, 10 billion.
Sorry, it's about homelessness.
Caitlin,
this is about
paying real estate taxes
I want to turn
for Disneyland based on the 1970s.
Thank you, Mr. Steyer. I want to turn to issues of leadership, which is something that obviously all of you would be in the position to deal with if you are elected governor. And Mayor Villaraigosa, you actually put out an ad of your own recently that highlighted your opponent here, Congresswoman Katie Porter, threatening to cut off an interview with a reporter. That came after a video surfaced of her berating a member of her staff. If a senior official in your government acted as she did in those videos, would you fire them?
Yes. But let's be clear. That's irrelevant because one of us will be the next governor. But let me just say something about what Javier Becerra has refused to answer, and that is that your chief of staff was indicted for padding his salary with your campaign funds. You initially on CNN said that you knew that you signed it. You knew that they spent $10,000. And then on the second time on your show, you said you didn't know. The fact is, as I said, I think you have to answer. You had two committees. You spent $1,500 for one and $10,000 for the other.
Don't you get the facts straight? And I hope I can clarify.
Mr. Mayor,
I'm sorry, Caitlin.
I want to go to Congresswoman Porter since
time out.
I'll come to you.
I'm sorry.
It is my turn. She's at the center of that ad, and you've put out an ad of your own, now making light of that interaction that you had with your
That's
staffer,
not correct, Caitlin.
which you said you apologized for.
That is not correct. The ad is about showing Californians what they've had a chance to see on this stage tonight and in every other debate stage that we've had, which is that I'm able to take responsibility, I'm able to follow the rules, I'm able to say I'm sorry, and I'm able to do better. Everybody in California had a chance to see me on stage with that reporter in the last debate and see exactly how I conducted myself. Californians can decide for themselves about my temperament based on what they've seen here tonight. And if these boys bullying and bickering hasn't been enough to raise questions about their temperament, I would really challenge that. I have taken responsibility at this point hundreds of times, and that's appropriate because I made a bad decision and I treated someone badly. I apologized 5 years ago for it, and we worked together for 4 more years. What I haven't heard is the people on this stage who have made other bad decisions and other mistakes and other failures of leadership. Not one of them, not one of these men have said in this entire campaign, I've made a mistake. Not for not being able to account for undocumented children who wound up in child labor. You called that MAGA talking points and a hoax, Mr. Becerra. I could go down the line. I don't even want to waste my time on this. I just want to say to California, I have taken responsibility. I have shown that. And what that ad is about, Caitlin, is about showing that I can laugh at myself, I can hold myself to account, and I have the fitness, the temperament, and the best ideas to be governor. And everybody's had a chance to see now in 3 debates how.
Thank you, Congresswoman Porter. And on this issue of leadership, Sheriff Bianco, you've had harsh criticism.
I have to interject. My name has been used several times, and I've patiently
Secretary Becerra, I'll come to you
Caitlin, you said that
I'll come to you on what the Congresswoman said. I promise. Don't worry.
Thank you.
But Sheriff Bianco, on this issue of leadership, I saw the two of you chatting earlier, you and Mr. Hilton. You've actually had some harsh words for your fellow Republican on the stage tonight. You've called him, quote, unethical and dishonest, and said that he is trying to, quote, manipulate Californians and, quote, swindled his way into the Republican side. Are you saying that you don't think Republican voters can trust Mr. Hilton?
I will tell you, I don't know where that came from. I wouldn't tell you in my entire life. I don't think I've used the word swindle. So I don't know if you were quoting something or if you were saying that,
It's a quote from you to The Atlantic.
No.
He said swindle is above my vocabulary.
Have Steve and I disagreed? Absolutely we have. Have we had our quite big disagreements and battles in this election? Because he's running his campaign, I'm running mine.
But you're denying that you said these quotes.
No, I'm saying that I don't know where that came from. I would never use the word swindled. But the context.
He's like, I don't know that
word. Yes, I have said that. It's unethical that I'm the only person up here that their entire existence in their job revolves around honesty, integrity, and leadership. I'm the only one. Right now, lying can get me removed from my job.
Can I just clarify?
Unlike what they're saying.
With you, because this says it's from an interview with KBAK that happened in April of this year. where you said he's trying to figure out how he can manipulate Californians to put him in this position in a time when we know that California Democrats have failed and we are going to vote for a Republican governor, and he has swindled his way into the Republican side, even though he's not.
I probably did say that. I didn't use the word swindled, whatever it was. But that context, I will agree with that 100%.
So
I do believe that.
Okay, so you did say the quote.
Sure.
Okay. Mr. Hilton?
Look, this is a very serious moment for California. The ballots are out. They're in your hands. And we have a really big choice to make, which is, do we go for another 4 years of one-party rule that's given us the highest taxes for the worst results, the highest poverty rate, highest unemployment rate, highest cost of living, serious policy questions, homelessness? We need to stop homelessness and end it. We need to stop funding fiascos like high-speed rail.
Thank you, Mr.
We need to
Hilton.
lift burdens on our business.
Caitlin.
That's what this debate needs
Thank
to
you.
be about. And the only way to get the change we need is to not vote
you,
the
Mr.
same
Hilton.
way and think you're going to get a different result.
I do have to go back to Secretary Becerra, since I did promise you that I would let you respond to that, since Congresswoman Porter invoked your name a few moments ago. She was talking about your leadership. Would you like to respond to her?
Yeah, I think everyone's invoking my name. It's nice to hear my name quite a bit, and they're at least pronouncing it correctly.
What?
I will tell you this. Distorting the facts in your quest to be governor is never good. But using Trump lies to try to damage your opponents is worse. And that's what we see happening. Everyone knows that Trump campaigned in 2024 talking about lost kids when there were no such thing as lost kids. To hear these candidates now talk about that, if they're so concerned, why haven't they taken any action to find these lost kids? I think it's shameful for people to use Trump lies to try to gain favor with voters when you know it's not true. Use the facts. We should have a governor who relies on the facts. I will speak the facts when I'm governor because that's what the California voters deserve.
I feel compelled to fact check it.
Staying on the topic.
It was a New York Times Pulitzer Prize-winning investigation.
And read the article.
It's not Donald
Antonio.
Trump.
Read the article.
26 Democrats.
All right, Mr. Villaraigosa. We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on now, sir.
Oh my God.
Be accountable.
Oh my God.
All right, we're gonna move on the
They
topic
cut his
of
mic.
leadership.
They
I
cut
wanna talk about
Villaraigosa's mic.
California Governor Gavin Newsom, who's about to leave office after 8 consequential and at times controversial years. To all of you, what is one word you would use to describe Governor Newsom's performance as governor? We will go down the line, starting with you, Mayor Villaraigosa. One word to describe Governor Newsom's performance as governor.
Performative.
Bold.
Progressive.
Failed.
Steve. Failure. You can't take my word.
All right.
Game changing.
Incomplete.
Oh
We'll be
man,
right back with
Becerra's the
more
only
of
one
the
to
California
support
governor
Newsom.
primary debate right here on CNN.
Oh my God. Becerra was the only one to support Newsom. That's crazy. Oh my God, chat. Yes, I thought it was slowing down, but nah, it's popping off still. Can we all agree Newsom sucks, right, chat? I don't know, man. He seems to be the front runner for the Democratic Party for president, so I ain't trying to. Nah. Newsom leaves much to be desired. Oh my God. Yeah, Steve Hilton and Chad Bianco were apparently going to say the same word. I always felt like Gavinator just used the office as a stepping stone to run for president. Yeah, without a doubt, Gavin Newsom he's a political climber. Doodle Bob 47 said, "What time does the debate end?" I don't know. It started at 6. It's been on for an hour and a half now. Maybe it's gonna go until 8. Yeah, no, Newsom is done. Damn, Scott, why you gotta call me out like that? Yes. Okay, fine. Newsom sucks, but I don't know what else the Democrats can put forward. It's really bad. Okay, I'll admit it. A Democratic Party is bad right now, but I don't know what else we can do. What? Let me ask you. like, do you want a Mayor Mamdani to take over the Democratic Party, or do you want a Gavin Newsom? The Baron of Baoba said it ends at 8 p.m. Someone said we carry the flame. If Gavin Newsom is the nom, we're going to get President Erica Kirk 2028. That's right. Yeah, basically, so 8, 9, 10, 11, 3 hours ahead. Newsom won't make it out of the debates. Someone said Mamdani. Scott said, sorry, just calling it like it is. It sucks that we are stuck choosing the better of the worst. Yeah. Mamdani wasn't born outside. Yeah, Mamdani can, no, Mamdani can't run for president, right? He was born outside the U.S., but that seems to be like okay, AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. That's the other option the Democratic Party has. You know, both parties right now, chat, I want you to know that I do lean more toward the left, but both parties are in the same situation. They have a serious anti-establishment issue to address. DV8 said Newsom flip-flops. That's right. Newsom the chancla. AOC would do much better than Gavin. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think Katie Porter's doing so good, but she's a woman, and society is hitting her with that woman tax, I guess. You know, like we're talking about some candidates, stealing money from campaigns versus stealing ballots, in an investigation versus Katie Porter yelling at a staffer, tell me the bar is not set at a different standard for women. I don't know, chat. You tell me. I feel like it's unfair for the women. The woman in the room has an unfair advantage. Gavin is going to self-destruct again when asked about AIPAC. That's interesting. Times 10, yeah. I think AOC will run. She has nothing to lose because she can drop out and register to run for Senate if Super Tuesday doesn't go her way. Yep, that sounds about right. She could go against Chuck Schumer, right? I mean, take Chuck Schumer's spot. Scott said Katie Porter has been fairly reasonable tonight, but she'll also do terrible. DV8, yes, Mamdani policies are the future. In a heartbeat, I'd vote for AOC. So slimy, pretending he never heard of AIPAC. I do tend to agree that Gavin Newsom pretending that he doesn't know about AIPAC, even though he, I guess, donated to AIPAC, was crazy. But I think that's something in chat we can all agree in. AIPAC. We don't want no AIPAC influence, right? Left or right, no more AIPAC influence. All right, we're getting back to the debate. Here we go.
California governor's debate. I want to move now to the issue of artificial intelligence.
We're going to talk about AI.
Will have to navigate
Amazing.
a pivotal moment in the AI revolution, balancing its immense potential with the possibility of massive job loss in our state. Mayor Mahan, Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei says AI could wipe out half of all entry-level white-collar jobs and spike unemployment to 10 to 20% in the next 5 years. As governor of California, would you require AI companies to compensate people displaced by their own technology? And how so?
Well, Alex, as the mayor of the largest city in Silicon Valley, I've seen these tools up close, and they can be used to make life better, but they also come with great risks, and people are right to be worried. I've regulated big tech. We started something called the GOV AI Coalition to create frameworks for how cities, counties, and others should use these tools responsibly. I created the first and largest AI upskilling curriculum for city workers. This year, 1,000 city workers in San Jose will go through our upskilling curriculum. The answer is to tax these companies and fund workforce development, upskilling courses, and create the shared prosperity that we need, the pathways to the jobs of the future, but not to regulate them to the point that they simply go to other places and then this change happens to us.
Mr. Steyer, your thoughts on AI?
Well, what we can't have in AI is for it to succeed and we create 12 trillionaires and millions of people who lose their jobs. The number one thing we have to do is make sure that AI is a tool for workers and not a replacement of workers. And we absolutely need to own part of it. The people of California need to have a tax or a fee on every calculation. And we'll use that to protect workers. We'll use that to retrain workers. And if there's money left over, we'll use it for a sovereign wealth fund. This is a California innovation in technology. We own the beach.
Thank you.
We should own part of AI.
Mr. Hilton, the original question, would you require AI companies to compensate people displaced by their technologies, and how so?
It's classic Democrats, isn't it, what you're hearing? If it moves, tax it. If it still moves, regulate it. And if it stops moving, I guess they want to subsidize it. Look, the truth is on this, we have to have a bit of humility. This is a very fast-moving technology, and actually even the people involved in it disagree about its exact consequences. Here are two practical things we could and should be doing better today. First of all, the real blue-collar jobs that are coming from the AI revolution, they're not happening in California. They're going to Texas and Arizona, semiconductor manufacturing. We could get that back by removing regulations. And secondly, our school system is not educating our kids to be able to thrive in this world of AI. We need to do better.
AI is a policy choice. We get to decide as Californians whether we want these technologies to work for us and to help us, or whether we want to stand by and let them gut our economy. I've talked about how AI could be delivering a 4-day work week for every single Californian, something that OpenAI came out this week talking about. I'm seeing AI already in my classrooms, having to write an AI policy with my kids' homework. We have to decide, do we want AI to work for all of us? And I think when AI uses what people have done, what workers have done, workers should be compensated for those inputs.
Thank you, Congresswoman.
Obviously, AI is a huge issue that, as governor, any of you would have to deal with. Also one that is underway right now in California, a changing climate that has been exacerbating water shortages, poor air quality, and of course, disasters like wildfires that people in this state are unfortunately all too familiar with. According to analysis from our partner, USA Facts, California has actually declared nearly 50 disasters in just the last 5 years. Mr. Steyer, your opponent here, Mr. Hilton, says that there is no evidence of California's regulations actually helping the climate. What's your response to him?
Well, I think that Mr. Hilton is ridiculous. Mr. Hilton is an apologist. He is an apologist for fossil fuels. He is an apologist for this war to control fossil fuels. The truth of the matter is, clean energy is now much cheaper than fossil fuel energy. We're an electric revolution the world over. That's why I'm insisting that the electric monopolies have local competition to drive down costs for Californians. That's why I'm saying we should triple the tax credit for people to buy EVs, because EVs are the absolute future. The truth of the matter is, it's very simple in terms of what we have to do in terms of energy. We need to make the polluters pay. We have to take environmental justice at the beginning of every conversation. And we need to deploy the clean energy technology that is here, that is invented by Californians, that will allow us to build huge companies all over the world. Right now, Donald Trump is fighting for the buggy whip. He is fighting for the black and white TV. He is fighting for the best. The truth is, this world is moving to electricity at warp speed on every continent. And the United States is still hanging on to the past.
I believe he called you ridiculous. Was that your word, Mr. Steyer?
Wow.
I think that was my word.
Would you like to respond, Mr. Hilton, to that charge?
Again, I don't want to respond to silly insults, but I'll take the substantive point, which is, first of all, when Tom talks about tripling subsidies for electric vehicles, let's be clear what that is. That is higher taxes on hardworking Californians driving their gas cars and trucks every day so that Tom's rich friends can feel virtuous about saving the climate. The truth is we need common sense on climate change. It doesn't make sense to import oil from halfway around the world, increasing carbon emissions in the name of climate. It doesn't make sense to allow mega wildfires in our forests that actually release more carbon dioxide than what is saved by all these years of climate policy.
Mr. Steyer?
Look, I think that description of how we should handle the gasoline crisis is not real world. The truth of the matter is, we're paying gasoline prices based on world prices. We're not paying gasoline prices based on what it costs to get oil in California. We're paying world prices.
So
That's
why are
why
they $2 higher here than everywhere else?
That is why they've gone up $1.50, Steve, because of the war in Iran.
But it's
that is
gone up
not
$2
because
of
all
your
of a sudden
policies.
the costs in California went by $1.50. Drilling more in California is not going to change the price we pay at the pump. The price we pay at the pump is what the oil companies gouge us for because they're charging us what everyone else in the world pays.
Mayor Villaraigosa, can you respond to this in terms of, as someone who was the mayor of Los Angeles, Mr. Hilton is saying the climate regulations don't work, don't actually help the climate. Mr. Steyer is saying they do.
Mr. Hilton is wrong, but let me be clear. I had a 100% record on the environment in the 6 years I was in the legislature. I passed the Carl Moyer Act, which was the biggest effort to clean up the air since the Clean Air Act. When I was mayor of Los Angeles, the largest city in this state, I reduced greenhouse gases by 28% below Kyoto levels, #1 American city, #5 in the world. But we can't keep on putting these policies on the backs of working people.
Exactly.
We've had this conversation, Alex, many times. We have the highest gas prices because we overregulate gas in this state. And yes, it's true, the Iranian war has picked them up even further. But we need to have a balance, an all of the above solution like Norway. Norway is one of the greenest countries in the world, and they produce their own oil and gas. That's how they green Norway.
Congresswoman Porter, I want to ask you about something that is a huge conversation in Washington. You've mentioned your whiteboard use that you were famous for when you served in Congress. A recent poll found that 56% of likely California primary voters think the next governor should make fraud in government programs a high priority. The president has named Vice President J.D. Vance as the nation's fraud czar. As you know, he brings up California a lot and has made clear that he has set his sights on California. Do you believe that's a good thing?
So we should all care where our tax dollars go, whether we're paying, a low rate like Tom compared to the rest of us or a rate that's higher.
Damn.
We all should want our tax dollars to go to work. I think Tom wants even his 13% compared to our 20% to go to work. So fraud is real. It happens. Government waste, mismanagement, failure to have audits, failure to implement government recommendations. That's why I chose to serve on the Oversight Committee and hold Democratic leadership and Republican leadership, Trump and Biden, to account for those programs. But there's nothing special about Californians. That is political theater coming from J.D. Vance. Fraud occurs because government leaders don't think hard and design programs clearly to guard against fraud. It happens on both sides of the aisle, and it's going to take somebody who has a track record of protecting consumers and doing government oversight in order to change that.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Sheriff Bianco, on the program itself and investigating fraud, and she's saying that it's political theater that is coming from the federal government.
It's only political theater if the fraud is happening and it happened on our watch. And so the Democrats in California don't want anybody to believe that there's fraud in California. But yet our own state government has said that we are one of the most wasteful state governments in the entire country. The waste, fraud, and the abuse in California government is the worst in the entire country. That comes from our own state government. If we are not going to root out the waste, fraud, and abuse, all of their pie-in-the-sky policies, they certainly are not going to pay for them unless they tax you more, that's all we're hearing from them, is what you started in the very beginning about how bad California is, and we aren't talking about the policies that are going to fix it because it's their policies that broke it. We've talked about them arguing about Mr. Becerra and about Trump ruining everything, but the reality is it is Democrat policies in California that have failed us in every question you've asked that we haven't answered.
Mayor Villaraigosa, this next question is for you. In 2008, California voters voted for a high-speed rail system from L.A. to San Francisco that was supposed to be done by 2020 and cost around $30 billion. It's now 2026. It's not even close to being done, and the estimated cost has ballooned to $230 billion. Mayor, your opponent, Steve Hilton, says that on his first day in office, he would kill this project, quote, stone dead. Would you?
No. And let me just first speak about waste and fraud. I can acknowledge that there has been waste and fraud in this state. There was $250 million in just one hospice facility. We spent $24 billion on homelessness, and homelessness went up. Why would I continue to support high-speed rail? Because when the subway to the sea was dead and I became mayor, I said I was going to bring in the best and the brightest from around the world. We did. And then I got the federal government to approve it, and that subway is going to get built. We've had incompetence, maybe fraud, but for sure, we've made mistakes with respect to this. As governor, I will do what I did as mayor, build more transportation than anybody in the United States of America.
Mr. Hilton.
So high-speed rail is an example of the fraud. They've spent billions of dollars. I don't know where the money's gone. It certainly hasn't gone into building anything that actually works. And I just want to make one broader point about fraud. I'm actually running this race in a different way than we've seen before. I've put together a team to run with me for the other statewide offices, and along with my running mate for State Controller, Herb Morgan, and Michael Gates for Attorney General, and Gloria Romero for Lieutenant Governor, we've actually been investigating the fraud. Our surveys so far suggest that in the last 5 years in California, we've had $425 billion of fraud. That's around $80 billion a year, around 20% of the budget.
Thank you, sir.
And our team is going to stop it and prosecute it and give money back to the
Alex, if I could just chime in on this.
Real quickly, Mayor.
Yeah, well, first of all, election denial certainly is running a campaign in a different way. But look, on high-speed rail, it shouldn't cost us more to get to Modesto than it's cost us to get to the moon. And it's not either or. The answer is accountability. We are spending billions of dollars before we ever put a shovel in the ground, paying consultants and lawyers for endless bureaucracy. As governor, I will demand fundamental reform of CEQA, of all of the rules, the environmental laws, the litigation around these projects so that we get to building faster. It goes back to your climate point as well. We can't modernize our grid if we can't build.
Thank you, sir. Congresswoman Porter, this question's to you. Let's talk about one of the biggest industries here in California, Hollywood. Film production has been leaving Hollywood for years. The state recently expanded the film tax credit to $750 million in an effort to bring those productions back. Some of your opponents here on stage think that tax credit should be unlimited. Do you?
Yes, I think we need to be competitive in California. I see a lot of people who've been in office 30 years in California, been in different elected positions on this stage, and they're patting themselves on the back when we didn't acknowledge that we are in a competition in California. It's much more expensive and much more difficult to bring any industry back than it is to hang on to it in the first place. So California is in competition. It's a competition we can and must win. We have the most talented workforce. We have the best higher education system, but we do have to have competitive policies.
Mayor Villaraigosa.
You know, when I was mayor of Los Angeles, I'd walk down a red carpet and I'd say the following, that the jobs behind the camera are more important than the people in front. 200,000 jobs we had, and we've lost them. This election is an existential election for Hollywood. So, yes, we do need an unlimited, uncapped tax credit. 1. 2, it needs to be above and below the line. The notion, too many people in Sacramento believe it should just go to camera operators and, you know, makeup people. It has to go to everyone.
That's time, sir.
So that's what I'll do when I'm governor.
All right, while we're on the topic of Hollywood, let's give the voters a chance to get to know you all a little bit. This is a rapid-fire question. You know, we've done this stuff in the past. It's for each of you. Which actor would you want to play you in a movie about your life? I'm going to each of you.
Which
Think
actor
of which
do you want to play
would
you?
play you in a movie about your life?
What
Mayor
a dumb
Mahan,
question.
starting with you.
Oh, boy.
Timothy Chalamet.
You're going to have to come back to me. I don't know.
I got one.
Russell Crowe in The Gladiator. How's that?
Okay. Javier Becerra.
Antonio Banderas.
Okay. Sheriff.
I have no idea.
Tom Selleck.
Yeah. I guess that would be a good one. Clint Eastwood.
Okay.
Clint
Mr. Hilton.
I think there's only one choice, really. Jason Statham.
Oh, my
Mr. Steyer.
God.
Gregory Peck.
Gregory Peck. Okay. The coming back, I guess, to do
No,
that.
not on the woman.
Mr. Congresswoman Porter.
Tina Fey.
Tina
All
Fey,
right.
no.
Mr. Mayor?
At the Hollywood event when I was mayor, Antonio Banderas said he wanted to play me. So I
No, why did the
said
two
yes, so
Latinos say,
gotta
I
go
want
with
Antonio Banderas to play me? No.
Doing this tonight. We're at least increasing his job out of this. We'll be back with more of the California governor debate right
Oh
here
my
on
God.
CNN.
Oh my God. It is 7:50 p.m. We got like maybe 5 minutes left on the debate, right? Oh my God. Katie Porter said she wants Tina Fey to play her. Bro, Tina Fey already played played what the heck was her name from Alaska? Sarah Palin, thank you. Antonio should have just said James Edward Olmos. I don't know who that is. Oh my God. So, chat, who is winning the debate so far? Do you think it's the tides are changing in the second half? Do you think Republicans are doing better, Democrats doing better? I feel like Katie Porter's got a little bit more time being good, like getting some good hits out there on everyone else, but that whole little Republican v. Republican section, I don't know. Did that change any of the Republicans' mind? It just seems like I mean not Tom, sorry. Steve Hilton and Chad Bianco. They're really tied, I think. These guys are a mess. I'm sticking with Porter. Governor Tom Steyer. It's hard to say. Bashona in a box said. Deviate said, how about no one? Baron of Bao Boss. I missed the first 30 minutes, but Steyer seems pretty solid. Yeah, Steyer, has been saying the same thing he said in the first and the second and third debate. So it's just, I don't know. Hilton is happy. Fox News grandpa and Bianco is the angry Fox News grandpa. Someone said yin and yang. Every Republican I know supports Bianco, but yet to meet Hilton supporter in the wild. I agree. I haven't met a single Hilton supporter in the wild. Around town, and oh yes, thank you. Hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. My name is Angelina Tucci. I'm a fellow Italian. Please support your local Italians by hitting the subscribe button, hit the like button. I cover politics on a regular basis, especially of the Inland Empire. That's Riverside County, San Bernardino County, parts of LA County. So, yes, thank you for the support. I am a broke college student trying to make my way in the world, trying to spread nothing but the truth in politics. We don't want no more lies. We don't want no more big money. We want to bring democracy back to the people. That is what this channel is about. Education and transparency. Yes. Subscribe or yes, Stoneface. Thank you, DV8. This has been a great debate so far. I feel like this one has been way better than the other two debates. I don't know if it's just CNN quality or if maybe the candidates are more desperate now. The candidates are, like I said, we got less than 1 month until the actual primary voting day. Thank you, DV8, for the placenta. To defend the family, vote for the Italian Communist Party. Damn. Thank you. I want this to be a chat where conservatives and left-leaning people can voice their opinions. Shout out to Angel City Girl. I don't know if you're still in here. I'm sorry for timing you out for 5 minutes. Oh, thank you. Yes, American flags. We could throw some emojis in chat. I really appreciate it. I'm having a great time. I hope you're having a great time. Oh, here we go. We got the ads showing again, Okay. All right. Debate is coming back. Yes, thank you, Bashonen in a box. Here we go. Hit that like and subscribe button. Yes, Deviate, you missed it. I timed someone
There's
out.
no secret to anyone on this stage tonight that this race has a
All right,
very
debate is
crowded
back.
field. And there are a lot of voters that are undecided, and many of them might be having some trouble distinguishing you from one another, seeing what sets you each of you apart in your campaigns. And so we want to give you an opportunity to tell us one characteristic that sets you apart from everyone else on stage here tonight. You have 30 seconds each. Mayor Villaraigosa, I'll start with you.
When I make a mistake, I'm accountable. I'm willing to say I made a mistake. When I have to take on my friends because there's a big, tough issue, I'm willing to do it. I think character matters.
Thank
and
you
I
for
have
the
the character to be
subscription.
governor of this state.
Malachi
I'm willing
Sandoval.
to take on my
Thank
friends.
you.
It's easy to take on your opponents. But when you can take on your friends in a crisis, that's the measure of a man or woman.
Congresswoman?
I have shown time and time again that I am willing to push for politics to be better, for government to be better. I'm the only candidate on this stage that refuses corporate donations. That's something that year after year, election after election, Californians say they're tired of having candidates who are beholden to their donors rather than fighting for them. We have to live our values in California and elect someone who will only focus on the future of California, not on giving away campaign favors.
Mr. Steyer?
This is a simple campaign because corporations are driving up the cost for working Californians to a place where they can't afford it. And I'm the person taking on the corporate special interests. I've beaten them in the past 3 times, and they are spending millions, tens of millions of dollars against me. That's how you know that I'm the person who wants to change things, because they're spending tens of millions of dollars against me. Working people are supporting me, environmentalists are supporting me, progressives are supporting me. I'm the change agent on this stage.
And Mr. Hilton, what's the characteristic that defines you from the rest of the stage?
Well, if you ask my wife and my sons, often to their great embarrassment, it's that I absolutely hate bureaucracy and ridiculous, pointless rules and regulations that crush the life out of people and businesses and daily experience that we have. And so I just want to tell everyone, I'm going to be relentless, absolutely relentless in fighting the nonsense that makes life so difficult for each and every one of you. I will not rest until we restore sanity to our beautiful state of California.
Sheriff Bianco?
Yeah, I'm the only one on this stage that has 33 years of proven public service. The decisions that I make have life and death consequences, and those decisions are made on a daily basis, and I'm the only one that makes those. I'm also the only one on this stage that is working every single day with the consequences of the failed policies of everyone else on this stage. And the difference is I'm not one of them.
Secretary Becerra, what's your characteristic?
I think the fact that I have the experience to take on the toughest challenges, whether it's Donald Trump in his first term or whether it was COVID, something we'd not experienced in our lifetime. I've been able to prove that I can balance a budget bigger than the budget of the state of California. I've proven that I know how to tackle a national state of emergency because I've had to do that in the past as Secretary of Health and Human Services. And I proved that I can fight, but more importantly, I can win. And so when someone goes into that governor's office, they're going to have to take a chair, and there will not be training wheels there for them. You have to deliver, and I have a proven record of delivering results. I don't just make inflated promises.
Mayor Mahan?
I'm relentless about delivering results in people's lives. I started my career as a public school teacher in East Side San Jose and fought every day to get each of my students on grade level. As mayor, when the bureaucracy and the establishment pushed back against solutions that would get people into treatment, or thought that it was okay to spend $1 million a door and make people wait out in tent encampments to come indoors, I fought against that. When people said we couldn't build housing, I fought to speed up permitting and reduce fees, and now we have homes under construction. I'll fight every day to make life better for Californians.
Thank you, Mayor Mahan. Thank you to all the candidates for joining us here tonight for CNN's California Governor Primary Debate.
Wow,
thank you to Alex Michelson and to our whole team. And also a special thank you to our host, East Los Angeles College.
And thanks to everybody for watching. We encourage you to get out there
That's right.
and vote.
Shout out to
There's
Alex Michelson, Caitlin Collins, CNN. Thank you for not copyright striking
Abby Phillip and her team at Newsnight is going to help break it all down. Stay with us right here.
That's it for the debate, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. If you haven't hit the like button, hit the like button. I cover politics every week. I work hard. And hit the subscribe. I really appreciate it.
Tonight,
oh my God. What a debate, bro. What a debate. Here we go. Let's put in some music. Thank you everyone for being here. Oh my God. Yes, come back anytime. Like I said, I cover politics of the Inland Empire. I cover California politics like I just did tonight. Cover national politics every once in a while, and definitely Latin American politics when I can. All right, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me. Crazy. The best debate, and it made no impact because no one could watch it. Damn. Thank you. Yes, placenta. All right. I'm gonna, placenta. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you for joining me. It's been great. Again, subscribe if you haven't subscribed. After I hit end stream, the video will be gone forever. LMAO, cable TV is more outdated than Doc. Yeah, shout out to Doc Holiday, our resident conservative. I hope you come back. Goodbye. Ciao, ciao. Yes, that's right. Ciao, Italiano. Mamma mia. Yes, have a good night, Kyle Murdoch. Thank you for checking out my Subaru videos. Mamma mia. All right. Peace out, everyone. Have a good one. Ending stream now.